We're going to start this meeting in a moment. If you would like to make any comments during our meeting on any of the agenda items, whether it be consent or regular agenda items, please fill out a card, give it to the clerk, and we'll be happy to accept it. That being said, I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the Board of County Commissioners Board meeting of April 5th, 2022. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Bernard,
Here.
Commissioner Kerner,
Here.
Commissioner Marino,
Here.
Commissioner McKinley, Commissioner Sachs,
Here.
Mayor Weinroth,
Here.
Vice Mayor Weiss.
Here.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Marino, would you please do the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance? Everybody please stand.
Dear God, as we gather here today, we pray that we are ever mindful of opportunities to render our service to fellow citizens and to our community, keeping in mind always the enduring values of life, exerting our efforts in those areas and on those things upon which future generations can build with confidence. Let us continue to strive to make a better place. Thank you very much. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You just want to see how fast I could turn.
Thank you, Commissioner Marino. County Administrator, how are you today? Do we have any additions? That's a loaded question, huh? Any additions, deletions, and substitutions?
Mayor, members of the board, on page 37, 4, which will be 4L, is an add-on certificate of recognition from District 4. On page 40, 5D1 has been deleted for further staff review. That concludes the additions, deletions, and substitutions.
Thank you very much. Before we move that, I'm going to ask for the indulgence of my colleagues and just to reorder what was going to be 4L to the top of the order of the proclamation so we can have Mr. Thompson excused early. It's okay, so I have a motion by Commissioner Kerner. Vice Weiss has seconded. All in favor, all opposed. That's been approved 7-0. Thank you very much. All right, we have the consent agenda, and we do have one comment on the consent agenda. So just to make it easier, we're going to remove item 3EE1 from the consent agenda. Anybody else want to pull anything from the consent agenda? Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Kerner to approve. I have a second by Vice Mayor Weiss. All in favor? All opposed. The consent agenda, except for item 3EE1, is approved. We are now going to go to item 3EE1, and Commissioner Kerner, would you please call the member of the public?
Yes, yes, Mayor. We have one comment card. It's Tanya Gibson, again on 3EE1.
Ms. Gibson, you are going to be recognized for 3 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Tanya Gibson. I'm here and representing Country Club Acres in Delray Beach, Florida. The agenda item was for a repair to our drainage system. Our community is in an X-rated flood zone, and during every rainstorm we flood. We only have 3 exits of water on the north, the south, and the west. The only one that is functioning is the west. It is a larger infrastructure problem. Yes, we do understand. But our western culvert, which is our only operating culvert, has collapsed. And the agenda item was supposed to be for a repair to our western culvert in order to make sure that we drain. We are a system that is fully septic. So when we drain and our streets drain, we are walking in septic water. I'm not really sure what the procedure was where you said you removed our agenda item. So we do have, I'm speaking a little bit out of turn, but we have funding that has been offered to us to actually perform this project. Are there any questions? That's the main thing, is that our community does not drain. 3 drains only, 2 are unfunctional, and the one remaining has collapsed. And this is a request for a temporary permanent repair, until a complete infrastructure can be addressed for the drainage in the whole community.
County Administrator, can you have Mr. Ricks perhaps reach out to this young lady?
I will have, Mr. Tate is here, and he will reach out to her, but this particular item is doing exactly what she's asking. It was pulled because I think that a card was put in, and they wanted to hear what you had to say.
Okay,
But we're moving forward with the repair to the failed item, and Mr. Tate's here to discuss it with you.
perfect. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Thank you for
your
coming
time.
forward.
Good morning.
Okay, we're going to look for a motion to approve 3E1. I have a motion by Vice Mayor Weiss, second by Commissioner Kerner. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor, all opposed, see that as approved, 7-0. Okay, that's going to bring us on to special presentations. I'm going to mention we're back to our normal business here. We are going to have in-person presentations, which is great. I'm going to ask you, when you accept the presentation from one of us, please keep your comments to about 3 minutes. We're not going to put the timer on you, but we will get the hook if you go on a little bit too long. All right? And I'm going to take the first one at bat with Mr. Thompson, and then we will proceed through the order. So, Mr. Thompson, please meet me down at the podium. And I said, Mr. Thompson, and I'm sorry because it is Councilmember Thompson, who hails from my favorite city of Boca Raton. The reason why Andy is here today is because he has initiated a program in the city of Boca Raton which I think is worthy of discussion and commendation. You know, a lot of us talk about trying to clean up our city, and sometimes it's literally and sometimes not. Andy, about a year and a half ago, started a program to help our city, both safety-wise and also as far as just making sure that during the pandemic, when people were tossing their PPE around and other trash was all around, he made it his mission to go through the city, and he's been what he called run the city, and he's been going through every street making sure that the city is looking the way we want it to. And his program has been embraced by a lot of civic groups in our city, and it's great to see the number of people who've come out to join you, Andy, and I just wanted to recognize you today for that effort. So thank you very much. And I will let you say at least 1 minute's worth of something.
Mr. Mayor, members of the County Commission, thank you very much for this. It's true. I started this program as a way to try to get to know my city a little bit better, because I drive through my city, I represent the whole city, but I haven't actually been on the street level of every street. So I said, I want to run every mile of every street in the entire city of Boca Raton. It turns out there's 475 miles of it. But I didn't want just to get exercise, I wanted to just run. I wanted to actually make it a little bit cleaner and make it a little bit safer. So yes, we're picking up PPE trash. We picked up over 1,300 pounds of trash in the course of this year. But we also identified 325 safety improvements, broken sidewalks, missing crosswalks, potholes, stuff that may not seem like it's that big of a deal, but if you're in a wheelchair or if your children are learning to ride a bike for the first time, and I have 5 of them, those broken sidewalks can be a big deal. So this initiative, which we call Run the City, was very, very successful for us, and I'm thankful I get the chance to do it again this year in round 2, running all 475 miles one more time. So, Mr. Mayor, members of the County Commission, thank you very, very much for this.
Good morning. I'd like to have Mrs. Green come down and join me down here. This is Helen Vogt Green. I hope I got that right.
You did.
Thank you. I have a proclamation here on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners declaring that April 5th, 2022 as Helen Vogt Green Day in Palm Beach County. Whereas Helen Vogt Greens has served on the county's Historic Resource Review Board for more than 25 years, offering her wisdom, knowledge, and guidance to the residents and elected officials of Palm Beach County. And whereas she has served as a historian for the First Congregational Church of Lake Worth, the oldest church in Lake Worth Beach, for 5 decades. And whereas in 2016, Helen received the Historical Society of Palm Beach County's Fannie James Pioneer Achievement Award for her significant contributions to preserving and sharing the history of Palm Beach County pioneering days, and where she helped to establish the Lake Worth Historical Museum and subsequently worked there for 38 years, where she was first curator responsible for collecting and preserving the city's early records and artifacts. And whereas Helen has been a member of the Women's Club of Lake Worth for over 30 years, she has also served on numerous boards and applied her vast knowledge to the county's history. And Helen Vogt Green is a dedicated leader in identifying, protecting, preserving, and promoting cultural resources and history of Palm Beach County for the residents, visitors, and for future generations. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of Palm Beach County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, assembled in regular session on this 5th day of April 2022, in Palm Beach County is hereby proclaimed Helen Vogt Green Day.
I recognize many of you, and I appreciate this more than you'll ever know. As somebody who has really attempted to serve my people well, I thank you because you've given me that opportunity. The word thank you is something that everyone really, truly appreciates. And from each of you, I say thank you for your service, and thank you for allowing me to be part of Palm Beach County history, and for being part of what you all are trying to do for Palm Beach County. It's hard to imagine that for over 75 years, I've been part of your county and being able to give back. And that is because you have allowed me to do that. To each one of you, thank you. And that word comes from my heart.
Thank you so much.
To my board members, Chris and Kodar, thank you for bringing me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, we really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I hope we'll have time to have coffee together.
Okay.
Thank you.
Be well.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kerner, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'm honored to have our state attorney of the 15th Judicial Circuit and everyone's best friend, Dave Ehrenberg, with us here today. He, as we know him to be an incredible leader, he's also, beyond just being a leader of the public, he's also obviously the leader of the state attorney's office, and I think one of the biggest testaments to his leadership is the passion and loyalty that his employees have in working for him. Despite all the things that go on in the background between salaries and caseloads and whatnot, he has what I recognize to be one of the most passionate and loyal workforces, and we're here today to honor one of the longest serving, I believe, or one of the longest serving members of his staff who unfortunately passed away. I know that she was beloved in the office. She was a very hard worker, very compassionate worker in her witness victim management duties. And so we're going to, on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners today, declare April 24th, 2022 as Annette Andre Day in Palm Beach County. Whereas in the month of April, our country, state, and County recognize Victim Awareness Week, and the citizens of Palm Beach County recently lost an esteemed advocate for victims, Annette Andre. And whereas Annette Andre was the voice of those who could not speak, the fighter for those who could not fight back, the shoulder for those who needed a place to cry, the first day of Victims' Rights Week, April 24th, 2022, shall be proclaimed Annette Andre Day in Palm Beach County. And whereas Annette Andre began her career with the State Attorney's Office in September of 1981 as Victim Witness Coordinator, with her last assignment handling special victim cases, including homicides. And whereas Annette Andre coordinated Victims' Rights Week and co-founded the annual Victims' Rights Walk in Palm Beach County. And whereas Annette Andre was known and respected by attorneys, judges, law enforcement officers, and community leaders, and loved by the countless victims and families she cried and laughed with and counseled. And whereas Annette Andre taught us that those affected by crime are not just victims, but more importantly, survivors with inner strength and resolve to live life again. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, assembled in regular session on this 5th day of April 2022, that April 24th, 2022 in Palm Beach County is hereby proclaimed Annette Andre Day.
Commissioner Kerner, thank you so much, and thank you, the Board of County Commissioners, all of you, and this is a very meaningful day. Thank you also to Dave Bernhardt for working on this, and there are people who are here today who knew Annette and who are watching on TV, and it was really devastating to lose Annette. About a couple weeks ago, we were handing out our service pins for people who have been working for our office for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and there was a pin for Annette Andre for 40 years in our office. And we couldn't find her in the office. She was not there that day, and that's when she learned from her doctor that day that she had terminal cancer, and we didn't get a chance to see her, or to talk to her, or to tell her how much she meant to us, because on Monday, 3 days later, she was gone. And this proclamation means so much to the people of our office, because Annette dedicated her life to standing up for victims of crime, and there'll never be another one like her. But our goal is to make sure her legacy lives on, and this proclamation will also live on, because these words are beautiful, and Annette would have loved this. And so on behalf of all of us at the State Attorney's Office, we say thank you. Thank you, and we will continue to live her legacy in our words, in our deeds every day.
Good morning. If I could ask Marcia Guthrie, Alyssa Kramer, Shondalyn Emerson, John Bartosek, Travell Northern, Kenyon Link, and Sandy Garson to join me at the lectern. We're declaring April 2022 in Palm Beach County as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Whereas 1,050 children in Palm Beach County were victims of verified child abuse and neglect in the fiscal year July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021, creating an overall child abuse rate for the county of 3.6 children per 1,000, which is down from 4.3 per 1,000 rate of the previous year. Whereas, though, tragically, 2 children died from child abuse in Palm Beach County last fiscal year, fewer than 4 in the previous year. And whereas 47.2% of those abused, neglected children are under the age of 5, and 71% of them are under the age of 10. And whereas African American children represent 30% of the children under age 5 in Palm Beach County, and they represent 42% of the victims of verified child abuse. And whereas in fiscal year 2020-2021 in Palm Beach County, 610 children were removed from abusive homes and sheltered in the foster care system, a 17% decrease from the previous year. And whereas most children who enter out-of-home care did so due to parental substance misuse, which was the most serious removal cause, inadequate supervision, domestic violence, and physical injuries all were major removal reasons. And whereas there are only 267 active foster homes in 2021 with a bed capacity of 546 for 546 children in Palm Beach County to care for them, 8 fewer homes than in 2020. And whereas the number of children placed with relatives and family members increased slightly to 57% in 2021, this is the most preferred placement when a child has to be sheltered from abuse. And whereas the misuse of illegal substances continues to contribute to instances of child abuse and neglect, with 66 children having a verified abuse recorded substance exposed newborns, an increase from 50 this past year. And whereas substance misuse was verified, maltreatment recorded for 416 verified allocations, resulting in the removal of 274 children in 2020-2021. And whereas Palm Beach County has implemented the Plan of Safe Care Initiative and efforts to combat substance misuse in our community to ensure that infants prenatally exposed to the misuse of substances, both legal and illegal, and their families receive the services necessary to advance personal and family recovery and resiliency. And whereas prevention remains the best defense for our children and families. And whereas protective factors are conditions that reduce or eliminate risk and promote the social, emotional, and development well-being of children. And whereas Palm Beach County organizations and partnerships involved in the child welfare system collaborate with parents, families, and community to strengthen and integrate effective preventive services and build community supports for families and children and are committed to preventing child abuse. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed in Palm Beach County by the Board of County Commissioners, the following will be observed, that April 2022 is Child Abuse Prevention Month. And I want to thank you all for the work that you all do in trying to keep our children safe, sheltered, and protected. You do amazing work for our community, and you take care of some of the most vulnerable residents of Palm Beach County. So on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, thank you for your service and all you do to protect our most precious resource, our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Vice Mayor Weiss, and thank you to the Board of County Commissioners for, again, recognizing April as Child Abuse Prevention Month here in Palm Beach County. The last 2 years has been a challenge for us all in our communities, but we do want to recognize that the pandemic has impacted the statistics that we reported on today, but it is still a continued fight to ensure that we eliminate and eradicate child abuse and neglect in our community. Throughout the year, but especially during this month, National Child Abuse Prevention Month, we raise awareness about the risk factors that can lead to child abuse and neglect, and we highlight the importance of supporting families and preventing child maltreatment. Additionally, we want to lift up and celebrate the hard work and excellence of our child welfare workforce, a child welfare workforce who did not stay home during the pandemic. They knocked on doors, they visited families, they comforted the wounded, and they are steadfast in their commitment to strengthening families and protecting children and eliminating systemic inequities. We are proud of our recent and current work in our community and continue to pledge to strengthen our efforts to ensure every child in Palm Beach County can be raised in a safe, loving, and healthy environment. Thank you again for this important proclamation. Thank you for all that you do, and we continue to want to partner with you as we work to eliminate child maltreatment in this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'm very excited and delighted to be issuing this proclamation. And before I do so, I'm going to ask Mr. Gary Lesser and the attorneys and professional staff from his firm to join me down here. Before you come down, I want you to know that I have my attorney here, and there are no trip hazards, there's no fall hazards. So come on down. There's a lot of personal injury attorneys in the room today, myself included. So please join me down here. And in a moment of levity, this is actually a very serious and a huge honor for me to be a part of this. This is a very important proclamation that is declaring the 95th anniversary of Lesser Landing Smith Attorneys at Law right here in our hometown of West Palm Beach and Palm Beach County at large. I know Gary for most of my professional life, and this proclamation isn't specifically about Mr. Gary Lesser, but I do think that he is really a living evidence of the culture and compassion and professionalism of this firm, given that his father, many years ago, in 1927, I believe, grandfather, wow, 3 generations, that his grandfather started this law firm back in the heyday of Palm Beach County, many, many years ago, 95 years ago to be exact. But just to give you a little sense of the public service and commitment to public service and professionalism that Gary Lesser and his attorneys have to this firm, and you'll learn a little bit more about him and the history of the firm through this proclamation. But I know Gary to be so involved in, and his attorneys as well, to be so involved in philanthropic opportunities in this county, in community service, not just related to the legal profession. He's a leader in the Jewish faith here in Palm Beach County. In fact, I attended my synagogue the other day for a special event, and he was the main speaker, and it was no surprise to me, and the way that he spoke about the service of citizens and their obligation to the neighbors and friends and family that we have to this county at large is a very important concept that I think is part of the foundation of their service as attorneys. I also know the professional reputation of the firm. I've practiced law in this county for now 11 years. In the same area of practice, personal injury, wrongful death, medical malpractice, representing everyday people. And it's something that we get made fun of it a lot, I can tell you, but I can tell you that the truth is that we deeply believe in what we do. We take immense pride and have much gratitude in representing our clients, and the professional reputations of attorneys are very important to us. And I know that this firm has the highest reputation, both here locally and throughout the United States amongst other members of the same practice area. And so it is a true delight and honor for me to be able to participate in this proclamation on behalf of your law firm, Gary. And so with that, today we're recognizing the 95th anniversary of Lesser Landing Smith, PLLC Attorneys at Law. Whereas the law firm was founded by Joseph H. Lesser in 1927 in West Palm Beach, Florida. Mr. Lesser was born in 1899 and died in 1982. Whereas Joseph Lesser established the firm's beginnings both in terms of professional service and dedication to clients' needs, as well as setting the finest example of the importance of community service. And whereas the Lesser Landing Smith mission statement is to protect and rebuild lives while enhancing the community, and whereas the firm's mission statement and ethical standards also help build trust in our judicial system, and whereas the firm's lawyers serve in significant leadership positions with the Florida Bar and other bar associations to help the local legal community and the residents of Palm Beach County and surrounding areas, whereas with the goal of strengthening the fabric of our community and the lives of residents, the firm's attorneys have served in leadership roles in a number of civic and other organizations, including the Chamber of Commerce of the Palm Beaches, Jewish Federation of Palm Beach County, Business Development Board of Palm Beach County, Young Singers of Palm Beaches, and Healthy Mothers and Healthy Babies Coalition of Palm Beach County. And whereas the firm's philanthropic endeavors in Palm Beach County and surrounding communities contribute to a sense of community ownership, now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, assembled in regular session this 5th day of April 2022, that the board hereby recognizes the 95th anniversary of Lesser Landing Smith, PLLC Attorneys at Law. You know, we spoke about leadership and other ways that we can serve the community. I think one of the best evidence of the reputation of not just Mr. Gary Lesser, but the firm at large, because you are forever associated with the colleagues that you work with, is that recently Mr. Gary Lesser was elected by the over 80,000 members of the Florida Bar, that's probably grown in recent years, to be the now president-elect, but soon to be president of the Florida Bar, what I think to be one of the finest bars in the nation, and one that I'm very honored and proud to be a part of. To be selected and to be honored and to serve in that leadership as really the head attorney of the state. We know that Chief Justice would be the head judge. We don't want to upset him. But to be selected by all the members of the Florida Bar to be the top guy to reinforce the ethical standards and conduct that attorneys are bound to follow, and to advocate for those that need legal representation. That really, in essence, is the culture and commitment that Gary Lesser and his law firm uphold, and it certainly is an extension of the original vision of the founders of the firm and the Lesser family at large. Mr. Gary Lesser, it's an honor to have you here today.
Thank you for the very nice words, Commissioner Kerner, Mayor Weinroth, Vice Mayor Weiss, members of the Commission. For those of us who are here today, it's our great honor to be here. I've worked with all of you on the Commission, when I think about it, over the years on various community and other issues, and I'm glad to know you and have worked with you over the years, and we always stand ready to help Palm Beach County. A brief introduction. Up here at the podium with me are lawyers from the firm, Mickey Smith, Joe Landy, Glenn Siegel, Chad Hastings, Jeff Gordon, Steve Clarefield, Josh Ferraro, Chuck Geary, and Danielle Sharif. We came together as one here at the podium. We work very closely to help our injured clients and their families and to make a difference in the community. As we all know, Palm Beach County has experienced amazing growth, the type of growth that we're not really seeing anywhere else in the county, in the country, maybe just a few places. And this is due to our leadership and the strength of our business community and the strength of our community in general. What's amazing to me is as our community has grown in size, we've held onto that culture of remembering everyone, helping people in need, and making a difference in the lives of people who need help in this community. You know, you've traveled different places in the country, you're not going to see that. We shouldn't take it for granted, the culture that we have in this community of helping other people. We're proud to be a part of and supporting that growth and making a difference in our community. I can't believe that it's 95 years since my grandfather started the firm, and I think what Commissioner Kerner was referencing was one of my grandfather's favorite expressions, which is that every person is born a debtor. You're born a debtor to your family, you're born a debtor to your community, you're born a debtor to your church or your synagogue, and you're born a debtor to your country. And no one should pass away leaving that debt unpaid. And that motivated my grandfather, and motivated my father, who actually joined our firm 62 years ago. He passed away. He is very missed, and in honor of his memory, I'll bring my points to a conclusion, and because he would appreciate that. My grandfather started our firm, and then my dad, and then me, and now the friends that I work with. Two simple goals: helping our clients and their families and making a difference in the community. That's what informs everything that our firm, our lawyers, and our staff do every day. And we're not actively working hard for our injured clients and their families. We're out in the community in any way that we can meaningfully make a difference. I've traveled all over the state on many occasions. I did campaign to become president of the Florida Bar. A few times I scratched my head thinking, what was I doing? Because I wasn't going to run for office. I was just going to serve the legal profession. It turns out running for the Florida Bar presidency, you're still kind of running for office. And what I really came to realize and further appreciate is how special Palm Beach County is, the culture that we have of making a difference. If you travel elsewhere, go to a city commission meeting, just for the heck of it. If you have time, instead of going to eat breakfast, go to a county commission meeting. We have something special here, and that is why we're doing so well here as a county. We're glad to be a part of it. We're glad to be supporting it. And I want to thank you for your time this morning and the honor of being in your company. Thank you very much.
Mayor, I had a couple special requests, which didn't surprise me, to have other members of the commission join me in this picture. So if it's all right with you, Mayor, if there's any commissioner that wanted to join the firm and myself down here, we would be honored to have you. Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to join you down here, and then we're going to need you guys to kind of line up.
I'm going to take the second tier up here.
Okay, cool. Yeah, do you guys want to stay up there or come down?
We'll stay up there. It's quite an august group here.
I'm up
Thank you,
front.
Gary, for all you do.
I've been told I'm up front. And Jeff Holmes.
I'm proud, very proud.
Thank you.
I wish Peter was here, he'd be,
Give him my best.
I will. We got all the, come on, Maria, come on. This is the best photography, always makes us look good.
You're slowing down the whole process.
This is going to be worth it. I believe everything Jeff tells me, without question. Well, some question.
Put that on the record. Oh, thank you.
All right.
You want us all here?
All right, let's get everybody up around here.
They got business here.
You guys are by the hour, too. Whoa.
We're billing them.
Are we good? Blair, right here. Gentleman right here.
Terribly sorry for the meeting interruption. We're almost done.
I'll hold you, buddy.
So Jen. Don't move. Mayor. Three. Two again. One more.
Good, we did.
We did our exercises. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
All right, only the president-elect of the Florida Bar gets to disrupt our meeting like that, Mr. Lesser. He doesn't even hear me. Okay, we have another proclamation, and I'd like to ask members of the Public Defender's Office, Stephanie, Public Safety, and the Gulfstream Goodwill Industries, the Lord Place, you know who you are, and we're going to be talking about Second Chance Month. Second Chance Month is, we talk a lot about enforcing the law, and we certainly want to have public safety. But after someone has gone and paid their debt to society, we want them to have a second chance, and that's what this proclamation is all about. So let me read the declaration today. Whereas more than 600,000 men and women leave American prisons every year, more than 11 million people annually cycle through our nation's jails, and national recidivism rates top 50%. And whereas the annual per-person cost for incarceration is approximately $21,000 for a state prison, $49,000 for the Palm Beach County Jail, and $81,000 for a juvenile lockup. Whereas thousands of people return from incarceration to Palm Beach County each and every year. And whereas Second Chance Month was created after the passing of the Second Chance Act, a law enacted by Congress in April 2008 that supports work to improve reentry outcomes in the communities across the country. And whereas initiatives that support individuals transitioning back into the community are built on extensive research and tireless efforts of local leaders, policymakers, correction officials, and others who champion the efforts to reduce reoffending in order to promote public safety, strengthen collaboration across agencies, and build stronger communities. And whereas the work done by the county's Reentry Task Force through collaboration with the criminal justice partners and reentry providers such as Gulfstream, Goodwill Industries, the Lord's Place, the Reentry Center in Riviera Beach, and others, has contributed to making Palm Beach County a national leader in reentry services and reducing recidivism. Whereas the men and women and youth returning from incarceration to Palm Beach County benefit by reuniting with families, obtaining employment, and finding stable housing. Whereas the demand for reentry services remains high, and investments we make in each returning resident will contribute to enhancing public safety in Palm Beach County. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, assembled in regular session today, that we are proclaiming Second Chance Month in April 2022. Who would like to take the microphone?
I will. Thank you. Good morning. I'm Carrie Howitt. I'm the Public Defender for Palm Beach County and the chair of our Reentry Task Force. Palm Beach County has a lot to be proud of in terms of our efforts in helping returning citizens. We started our reentry initiatives over 20 years ago with a reentry task force chaired by myself and the late, great Harry Johnston. With that initiative, we partnered with DOC, we partnered with various community providers to start trying to serve folks who are leaving institutions. And the county stepped up and, I guess about 6 years ago, agreed to a reentry department within public safety, recognizing that helping returning citizens is critical to the health of our community. It's helping our neighbors as well as helping public safety. So I thank you for recognizing this, and I thank the county for their efforts, but really it's been the community and our community providers, many of whom are here, as well as so many nonprofits that serve returning citizens. And then finally, our returning citizens that every day make us proud in overcoming enormous obstacles to reentering society, finding work, becoming successful, reintegrating with their families and their communities. It is hard for those of us who have not experienced incarceration to understand what strength it has taken for so many. But they have shown us their strength, inspired us, and we have much more work to do, and we look forward to continuing our partnership with the county in providing services to help folks get a leg up. So thank you for this proclamation on behalf of all of us.
And Carrie, a special thank you to you as our constitutional public defender for everything you do. Thank you.
I will say I think Gary Lesser was right. Anytime you can have the public defender and her team being recognized the same morning as you're recognizing the state attorney and his team makes Palm Beach County a pretty special place. And to have the president-elect of the Florida Bar Association here to recognize it, it's pretty cool. I am going to be doing a proclamation declaring April 2nd, 2022 as Flash Syringe Service Programs Day. So I would like to ask that Nancy McConnell, the CEO and co-founder of Rebel Recovery, join me at the podium, along with John Hulick, Dr. Casey Messer, Joanne Reed, Sean Conklin, and the Flash team, Scott Peterson and Austin Wright. Good morning. Whereas Rebel Recovery Florida's mobile syringe service program, the Florida Access to Syringe and Health Services, otherwise known as FLASH, celebrated its first anniversary of service to Palm Beach County on April 2nd. And whereas the primary mission of FLASH is to offer harm reduction and a range of community-based prevention programs, services, and supplies to people who use drugs, including infectious disease testing, healthcare navigation, peer support, and sterile injection supplies to help prevent the spread of infectious diseases. Nearly 30 years of research shows that comprehensive syringe services programs are safe, effective, and cost-saving, do not increase illegal drug use or crime, and play an important role in reducing the transmission of viral hepatitis, HIV, and other infections. Palm Beach County was the second county in the state of Florida to establish a syringe access program in an effort to increase public health and safety, as well as build a bridge to treatment and recovery support services for program participants. The harm reduction peer supports that operate FLASH have had an unprecedented opportunity to combat the nation's opioid crisis that has disproportionately impacted our county, while continuing to strengthen infectious disease prevention and treatment for county residents. Whereas FLASH has engaged 223 participants provided 4,160 hours of community outreach, facilitated the safe disposal of 44,358 used syringes. Those are syringes that you're not finding on the beach or in the playgrounds that your kids play in. Distributed 917 Narcan kits and reported 292 overdose reversals during its first year in service to Palm Beach County. And whereas Rebel Recovery Florida remains a champion for the improved health of people who use drugs, recognition for all people to be treated with dignity, respect, and compassion, and the right of equitable access to a person-centered, recovery-oriented system of care through robust services, collaborative programs, and partnerships throughout Palm Beach County. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, assembled today, that April 2nd in our county is Flash Syringe Services Program Day. And I also, he's not here, but I hope he hears this shout out. This fight's not done yet, and I would like to thank our State Attorney Dave Ehrenberg for having the courage this year to try to push through an amendment to legislation that would have continued to grow the harm reduction efforts in Florida by allowing for fentanyl testing strips to not be considered illegal. We still have to fight that battle, but this team, you all are phenomenal. I'm proud that we were the second county to be able to do it, and Nancy, I'm proud to work with you.
Thank you. I just have a few words. I wanted to make sure I got everybody in there. We would like to thank the Board of Commissioners and community members who have supported us and believed in our vision, especially Melissa McKinley, who has been our champion and our voice. I'm sorry, I'm very nervous. This is not my usual thing.
I make people cry.
I know. Okay, and that's why I wrote everything down, so I wouldn't have a meltdown. Okay, we would like to give special thanks to Southeast Florida Behavioral Health Network, who saw something in Justin and I in 2016, and that we really didn't know what they were seeing, but they had a vision, and they guided us in building a recovery community organization that is now an integral part of the behavioral health system of Palm Beach County, with special consideration to Ann Berner, Becky Walker, and Linda Kane, and the rest of the SEFBN team. Without them helping us build the infrastructure of Rebel Recovery, we would not have the seamless transition for our exchange participants when they request a higher level of care. And because we are in this provider network, we are able seamlessly to link our participants from the exchange through our peer support system to detox, treatment, link them to medication-assisted recovery. So many services, housing, that because we have Rebel Recovery, we are able to provide these services. I would also really like to thank our county support team, led by Dr. Casey Messer, John Hewlick, Joanna Reed, and my very good friend Sean Coughlin, who always answers my calls when I am in a panic about something. And we always find new data points, and Sean is the one that puts them in red caps so we can capture the data needed to help promote better health for our residents of Palm Beach County, because this is a public health organization. Flash is addressing public health issues. And finally, but not leastly, we want to thank those that work on the site. Scotty Peterson, who is our site manager, Austin Wright, who is the program manager for Resilience Against Drug Death Program, the RAD program, Krista Moynihan, who supports our data management, and He tries to keep me in line, but it's a tough job. All our volunteers, there's people that work at Rebel Recovery, and because of the funding limitations, they will volunteer their own time to make sure that the exchange has peer supports and has extra people there supporting our participants because they believe in this vision so much. And I really want to recognize Justin, which is really hard right now, for his relentless pursuit of having a legalized syringe exchange in this county. We have exceeded our targets for our first year. And the next month, we are opening up 2 new sites, and one that I'm really excited about out in the western communities, and I know Melissa's excited about that. We are extremely proud of today's recognition, but we are just getting started. Thank you.
You know, sometimes watching our meetings is like watching paint dry. And, you know, it can get very dry, and we go through a consent agenda very quickly, and, you know, it's not a lot of fun to watch. But I think these proclamations are an opportunity for us to see what our community is doing, and this is really, you know, we're taking some time today for these proclamations, but I think each one gives us another facet of our community. I think it's certainly a worthwhile presentation. So with that being said, I have a group of people that I'm going to have come up now for Telecommunications Week. I have a long list of Palm Beach County 911 program services. I have members of the PBSO. I have members of both the Boynton Police Department, Riviera Police Department, and of course Public Safety. So why don't you all come on up, and I'm going to do the honors of reading this proclamation. So whereas thousands of dedicated public safety telecommunications personnel daily serve the nation by answering 911 calls for law enforcement, fire rescue, and emergency medical services, and dispatching the appropriate assistance as quickly as possible. And whereas the critical functions performed by the professional public safety telecommunications personnel also include those related to other governmental agencies providing public safety, telecommunication services, and whereas these professionals efficiently coordinate emergency services to ensure the health and safety of our residents, visitors, travelers, and fellow first responders in our communities, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas in an effort to keep the community safe, these dedicated professionals continue to report to duty during the pandemic that we just had, while adapting to changing regulations and procedures. And whereas professional public safety telecommunications personnel work to enhance the emergency response capabilities of communication systems through their leadership and participation in training programs and other activities. And whereas the second week of April has been designated by the Association of Public Safety Communications Officers and the National Emergency Number Association to recognize public safety telecommunications personnel for their crucial role in protecting life and property. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, assembled in regular session today, that we are proclaiming April 10th through 16th as Palm Beach County Public Safety Telecommunications Week. Now I'm going to make special recognition of our new fire chief here, Chief Kennedy. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Manager Kristen Crossan. I work for the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, and I work for one of the agencies among 13 here at in Palm Beach County. And we just want to say thank you so much for recognizing us for the second week. We are, as you said, have worked through the pandemic nonstop, 365 days out of the year, and we are very grateful that you are honoring us and recognizing us during this week. It takes a very special individual to do what we do, and if anybody wants a very rewarding career, come join us all. We're all looking for great and wonderful people to work for us. Thank you all very much.
Mayor, do you mind if I am recognized for a moment? Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for joining us here today. I just wanted to speak very briefly from personal experience because we all know telecommunicators and dispatchers to be unsung heroes, but they're really also unseen heroes. And I think the public, the public doesn't want to interact with a dispatcher or telecommunicator because that means you're calling for an emergency typically. But the other half of the equation that people don't realize is that they are the lifeline for law enforcement officers and fire rescue personnel as well. And their extra efforts and their diligence can mean life or death for a police officer or deputy sheriff. And so they're the ones that when there's a pursuit going on or there's a perimeter set up or there's somebody that's been injured or shot that needs immediate assistance, they're literally going the extra mile to direct that officer in. They're the ones running tag information and driver's license and criminal histories to make sure that the officer on scene is aware of officer safety issues. And so I always found immense comfort in protection and the professionalism of what you folks do. And I appreciate what you do. You don't get enough recognition, but I hope you never forget how important your role is in public safety, and I thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kerner.
Okay, moving right along. How are you all today? Oh, come on. There you go. Well, it is my pleasure to do the Earth Day proclamation today. Can you hear me? Okay. So to break out of the silo mentality here in the county put together cross-department teams to research and present to the Board of County Commissioners our strategic priorities so that we can better serve our residents and our businesses. So today I'd like to invite the members of the Palm Beach County Environmental Cross-Department Team to join us for this Earth Day proclamation. Gamma. So the proclamation here today is declaring April 22nd, 2022 as Earth Day. Whereas this year marks the 52nd anniversary of Earth Day, a national day to focus on the environment that is credited with launching the modern environmental movement. And whereas the events over the past 2 years have taught us how critical the environment is for both mental and physical health. And whereas the citizens of Palm Beach County have been champions of county efforts to address environmental issues, such as the continuing restoration and enhancements of natural areas, the wild and scenic Loxahatchee River, parks, beaches, Lake Worth Lagoon Estuary, and sea turtle and manatee protection. And whereas the county is working to mitigate its climate change impact by monitoring and reducing greenhouse gas emissions, planning for climate resiliency, and promoting sustainable development. And whereas the results of restoration efforts are being realized through the return of rare bird species to the Lake Worth Lagoon and county natural areas, the emergence of new businesses focused on ecotourism, and increased awareness nationally and globally of the Palm Beaches as a world-class ecotourism destination, and whereas the county's strategic planning and performance management environmental protection cross-departmental team, I need a breath, made up of 13 departments is one of 6 strategic priorities for the county that promotes programs and activities that protect, preserve, and enhance natural resources while providing sustainable living and developing a climate of resilience. And whereas all people, regardless of race, gender, income, and geography, have a right to a healthy, sustainable environment with economic growth and opportunity. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, assembled in regular session of this 5th day of April 2022, that April 22nd, 2022 in Palm Beach County is hereby proclaimed Earth Day.
Thank you so much. Deb Drum, a proud member of the Environmental Cross-Departmental Team, as we affectionately call it. Thank you to the Board of County Commissioners for your support of our efforts to protect, preserve, and restore Palm Beach County's land and water resources. In our line of work, every day is Earth Day, and we're pleased that with this proclamation, everyone in our community is invited to actively protect our environment in their own individual way. We couldn't do what we do without the many outstanding volunteers and partners, and we are so grateful for them. Obviously, they can't all be here today, but we want them to know that we appreciate them so much. Thank you.
pictures.
Commissioner Bernard, before you start, I had a presentation last week where one of the home associations wanted to hear from the mayor of the county, but then they said, no, we want to hear from ERM. So 2/3 of the meeting was natural resources. Okay, Commissioner. Thank you.
Before I do this proclamation, I'd like to recognize several folks who are here. First of all, we have our former County Commissioner, Addie Green, who is here. Addie. It's an honor to do this proclamation with Commissioner Green being here. And also we have Mr. Jeffrey Jackson, who's a former retired sheriff officer for Palm Beach County. Thank you for your service to Palm Beach County. And then also we have the First Lady of Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church, Miss Mamie Kisner here. Thank you. Affordable housing is so crucial to everything that we're doing in Palm Beach County. Normally, when I'm doing a proclamation, I normally would bring the department director, Jonathan Brown, Sherry Howard, and Dorit Miller, but today I'm bringing the county administrator up. So today we're declaring April 18th through the 22nd, 2022 as National Community Development Week. Whereas National Community Development Week has been designated by the National Community Development Association to celebrate the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG program, and the Home Investment Partnerships, HOME program. And whereas the CDBG program provides annual funding to local communities to provide affordable housing, suitable living environments, and economic opportunities for low and moderate income residents. And whereas the HOME program provides annual funding to local communities to create decent, safe, and affordable housing for low-income residents. And whereas over the past 5 years, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development has awarded Palm Beach County more than $35 million in CDBG funds and $10 million in HOME funds. And whereas CDBG funds assisted in providing social services for 18,903 people, including the homeless, persons with physical and developmental disabilities, survivors of domestic violence, abused and neglected children, and youth aging out of foster care, construction of 54 infrastructure and public facility projects benefiting 211,997 people, including parks, community centers, homeless facilities, health centers, roadways, and drainage and water sewer improvements. Economic development activities creating 2,996 full-time jobs, and assistance in the establishment or expansion of 13,139 businesses through technical assistance, sourcing of financing, business incubation, and support services. And whereas HOME funds assisted with the purchase of first homes by 40 low-income home buyers, expansion of our affordable housing stock with new construction of 84 homes, and rehousing of 606 homeless individuals and families. Therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, assembled in regular session this 5th day of April 2022, that the week of April 18th through the 22nd, 2022 in Palm Beach County is hereby proclaimed National Community Development Week. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bernard. On behalf of the hardworking staff of Housing and Economic Development, I want to thank you for your recognition, and also the board for all of your support over the years. And so it is our effort to always provide housing for the people that need it the most. And so we got a crisis on our hands when it comes to housing, but we will work together with the community as a whole to continue to put the effort forward to provide affordable, decent, and safe housing, along with jobs, to make this a overall community that we need to make sure that our residents are safe in. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, art illuminates our soul. Art reflects our community. Art shows who we are in dimensions not written, but experienced. It is my great honor today to have a proclamation by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County declaring April 4th through the 10th, 2022, as Norton Museum of Art Week. If I could please have, and you will see that French was not my best subject, Ghislain de Humeres, a little Italian accent there, who is the Director and Chief Executive Officer, who will accept this proclamation, along with Jonathan Wimett, if you would like to come up, sir. And I am going to read this proclamation. Whereas the Norton Museum of Art was founded in West Palm Beach in 1941 by Ralph and Elizabeth Norton to serve all the residents and visitors of Palm Beach County. And whereas the museum draws from its outstanding permanent collection of more than 8,000 works of art and leading private and public collections from around the world to present world-class exhibitions in Palm Beach County. And whereas the museum's recent expansion, which was designed by Foster & Partners and opened to local and international acclaim in 2019, has contributed to securing Palm Beach County as an architectural destination. So whereas from April 4th to the 10th, 2022, the Norton Museum of Art will offer an exciting array of programs, including exhibitions highlighting extraordinary collections of contemporary art and historical prints. An Art After Dark evening celebrating the intersection, this is good, of art and classic cars. Teacher workshops, an art and literacy program for children in partnership with the Palm Beach County Library System, a lecture on Rembrandt by a renowned visiting scholar, a pilot program for families of children with autism, thank you, and the museum's annual gala. And let me say that it was just in the last couple of months that you, CEO Ghislain, offered to the Guatemala Maya Center, located in Lake Worth, to its director and all its residents to come and visit this wonderful exhibition of art that we have right here in West Palm Beach. So from Memorial Day weekend to Labor Day, the museum will offer free admission to residents of Palm Beach County every Saturday to ensure it remains accessible to all members of its community. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, assembled in regular session this 5th day of April, 2022, that April 4th to the 10th, 2022 in Palm Beach County is hereby proclaimed the Norton Museum of Art Week. Thank you so much for all you do, and it is with great honor that I present this to you. Thank you both. Thank you. You want to say a few words? Sure.
Thank you. I was thinking thank you so much. And it's been, as a new resident of Palm Beach, West Palm Beach and West Palm Beach County, it's an honor to be here with all of you. It's an honor to be part of the community. And we are so excited to do more and even more coming up. So COVID was not an easy time, but we went through it with the support of all of you. And as you know, this city and this county is going to grow so much. So we're very, very excited to be part of that. And stay tuned, because the Norton has a lot of plan for the future. It's going to make even this place even more exciting and beautiful. I'm a firm, strong believer that museum is a hub of creativity. We are not just a temple for the art. We're a hub of creativity where everybody could have a dialogue between generations about art from around the world. And if you really want also to help preparing the next generation, we had that place where you could have dialogue and understanding differences through the art. And I really hope everybody will take advantage of the Norton Museum of Art. Thank you. Thank you so much for your support.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
I'd like to thank you. All three of my children attended Forest Hill Community High School, and they were all in the Art Honor Society, and all three of them had artwork hung in the Norton Museum through your partnership with the high school. So thank you for everything that your facility does with our local public education institutions. It does make a difference.
Thank you.
And this is just the beginning, Commissioner McKinley. We're going to have even more interaction with the community from Norton and the school district and all our community organizations like the Guatemala Maya Center and all the others, so that we bring art to the people. I thought it was so good when you said it's not a temple. This is our community outreach. Thank you so much. I'm going to have a picture, and I would invite Commissioners Mac Bernard and also Dave Kerner to come in, because this is also in your district. Mayor, if you would like to join us, and
Oh,
Commissioners.
certainly.
You what?
It's good to have the A put back in STEM.
I don't know if it's appropriate, but I just saw in the newspaper that the city of Palm Beach, West Palm Beach, is thinking of a partnership with Antigua, Guatemala. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, I didn't know that. No,
Yes.
that's excellent.
So,
You and I can get one
I'd
picture
accept you.
together. Would you like to?
Yes.
And then we'll get everybody else. Just give me one. Here we go. One. No, we're going to do one picture with everybody together. And then everybody, come on, and everybody.
Well, you know, we might as well have the entire committee.
No, I know. Let's have.
I invited you all.
I don't go there.
You gotta go. It's actually beautiful. As an Italian, this is half of our art. Here we go. Everybody? This is the way I like it.
Whenever you have time for that. I will. For you. Okay, perfect.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mayor. Well, last but certainly not least, I reordered this one so we could do a group photo, but I need to do it in front of the seal. And I'll be handing this one to Ms. Virginia Baker. This is declaring April 2022 as National County Government Month. And as one of your members of the National Association of Counties Board of Directors, I promised them I would do this. So whereas the county's 3,069 county governments serve more than 300 million Americans and provide essential services to create health, safety, and vibrant communities. Counties provide public health, justice, safety, infrastructure, transportation, technology, environmental stewardship, and economic services that play key roles in everything from residents' daily commutes to emergency response. Palm Beach County and all counties take pride in their responsibility to protect and enhance the health, well-being, and safety of residents in efficient and cost-effective ways. Under the leadership of National Association of Counties President Gary Moore, the National Association of Counties is demonstrating Counties Matter. And actually, we'll fix that because the president of the National Association of Counties is Larry Johnson from DeKalb County, Georgia, especially in supporting residents and businesses during the coronavirus pandemic. Every year since 1991, the National Association of Counties has encouraged counties across the country to elevate awareness of county responsibilities, programs, and services. And whereas Palm Beach County takes pride in its mission to protect and enhance the health, welfare, and safety of its residents in efficient and cost-effective ways, and to continually focus on delivering quality programs and services. Today, we declare April 2022 as National County Government Month. Ms. Virginia Baker, I know on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, we thank you, your leadership team, and the thousands of employees that you work with that help us every single day. We don't do anything that we do up here without the support and the tremendous amount of work that your employees do, so thank you.
Thank the board. Thank you for all your support. And definitely employees, because that's where the rubber hits the road. And none of us could do it without the hardworking employees of Palm Beach County.
And before I get kicked from my colleague to the right, and to the county attorney and her team as well.
Yeah, we include.
I wouldn't damage you.
Right.
Ooh, that was long.
All right, we're going to do this in phases. We're going to take one partition down at a time. Okay, everybody, we are back in business. Vice Weiss, can I help you?
I just want to take a point of personal privilege since we have Mamie Kisner here in the audience with us. And I just want to acknowledge that she was appointed to the Florida Faith-Based Community-Based Advisory Council for the state of Florida. And it's first for Palm Beach County, so want to just acknowledge and recognize her for her efforts on behalf of our community.
Thank you so much for your service to our community. Okay, we're going to move on to our regular agenda, and normally this first item, which as I said before, sometimes it's like watching paint dry to see our meetings go on. This one has been so long in the coming, and I know Mayor Wilson will be speaking on this because his card is in already. But I've got to tell you that this has been a very long road that has been traveled to get to this day today, as far as having lighting on a road where people have been driving back and forth between the east and the west, and where there have been accidents, some terrible accidents, and because of the heavy equipment on that road. And we are privileged that the TPA and the county and FDOT all came together on this, and we're able to come to an agreement that's going to have lighting on State Road 15 to County Road 880. And this is really an accomplishment, and the TPA should be congratulated. 5 of the 7 of us are on the TPA. There are 21 members of the TPA that had to come to an agreement on this. And as I said, Mayor Wilson has been beating the band on this for a long time, and so I'm going to let staff make a brief presentation, and then I know Mayor Wilson, and we have another card here also, are going to come up and discuss it.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Board of Commissioners. As the Mayor indicated, this is a long agreement coming. I remember my first meeting with the TPA, and Mayor Wilson was beating the band then, and I thought, well, this should be a pretty simple solution, but it takes effort and takes people working together, and so this is where we're at in terms of years of working together. And so with me is Dr. Mal Al-Turk, who's the Director of our Traffic Division, Liz Herman from our County Attorney's Office, and the Assistant County Administrator, Patrick Rutter. Before you is a recommendation for the lighting agreement, and to give you just a little background, this is a lighting agreement only for that we call the small section, which is the connection on State Road 80 and putting lighting. But this is related to the overall lighting. There's a statewide agreement for all the other lights that the county maintains on behalf of DOT. And so we are partners with DOT on that, and this small agreement is partners with that. The project is along 8080. It's about 1,000 lights, and a part of this project is that the TPA has agreed to actually fund the project. The presentation says $14 million. Actually, I just heard from Ms. Valerie Nelson that it is almost $24 million for this project. And so DOT has set up a special lighting agreement, that's what this recommendation is, for installation of this project. And this is unique that we'll actually have, working with FPL. FPL will be the design agent, installation agent, and actually the maintaining agent. We, as the county, will be a pass-through in terms of the funding, because the state provides us reimbursement for all the lighting, and so we pass those costs, the actual reimbursement, to FPL. And one thing unique about this agreement, if we, sometime in the future, hopefully we will not, get out of the statewide agreement, then the reimbursement from DOT is null and valid, and then the county will still be on the hook for the annual reimbursement cost of $236,000. But overall, based upon the partnership with the TPA and DOT and FPL, this is, I think, is a win-win to address a very serious situation.
Very good. Okay, let's have our comment cards.
All right, thank you, Mayor. We'll start with, we have some very special guests in the crowd today. We'll start with Mayor Steve Wilson from the City of Belle Glade to this microphone. Then we'll have Robert Reese, the City Manager of City of Belle Glade. Those will be our first two speakers.
Mayor Wilson, it's always great to see you.
Likewise, Mr. Mayor, if I can I have Mayor Cowles from the City of South Bay and Mayor Babb from the City of Polk please come up and join me if it's okay with you, Mr. Mayor?
It's the trifecta.
Yes, they call us Batman, Robin, and the Green Hornet, so you gave us that name. We bring greetings to all of you on behalf of the Glades community, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and to all the commissioners in their respective place, to our county administrator, Ms. Baker, and her entire staff. We say to all of you, a job well done. I ought to be reminded of a songwriter once wrote the song, Look Like We Made It. It's a song that tells the story of yesterday, the story of today, and the story for tomorrow. You see, on yesterday, this whole conversation about State Road 80 lighting was just that, a conversation that was around for about 10 years or more. But today, through your support, it just may become a reality that the folks in the Glades have been waiting for a long time. But in actuality, the truth of the story is that tomorrow, it will save lives. It will also prevent accidents. And more importantly, it will have that connectivity with the western part and the eastern part. No longer we have to say the people way out there or the people way over here. When the lights go up, we're all in this together. We're saying to you today, we have people from all walks of life in the Glades community that came with us, former principals and assistant principals, ministers, community stakeholders. If I can, Mr. Mayor, have them understand, they want to come to tell all of you guys, thank you for putting it on the agenda, if it's okay with you. Will you please stand, folks from the Glades? We want to give the commissioners a big hand. Thank you. The last thing I'll say, all the commissioners, I want the record to reflect this, including the staff. Commissioner Sachs, Commissioner Bernard, Commissioner Kerner, my good friend Marino, who was the chair of the TPA, and the one that navigated this all, Commissioner McKinley, and the chairperson now, the mayor. I can tell the audience and the folks in the Glades that not one time that they ever gave up on us. When we talked about the lights in the Glades, not one of these commissioners said no to the idea. If I had my way, I know there's some inspiring people who want to be commissioners, but you guys have done an awesome job in the last couple of years. Wish there was no term limits. Not trying to make you feel good, so to buddy up to get yes on this. But I will tell you, you navigated us through storms and through the pandemic. And that's because of your leadership and your honesty about the people in Palm Beach County, a county that is one of the fastest growing county in the state, if not the country. Commissioner McKinley, you are a superwoman. Thank you for what you do for the Glades community. Thank you so much. Now, Marino, you know I love you to the moon. Yes, All you guys, thank you. God bless you all. And we do have with us two of our commissioners, Commissioner Joaquin Amazon, and we have Commissioner Kenny Barry. We all give our love to you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, that's a hard act to follow. But again, on behalf of the citizens of the Glades and all of those who travel that road going east to west, we want to thank you. Anyone who's traveled those roads between sunrise and sunset can tell you it's a beautiful ride just to be riding through those the fields of cane and the fruits and all. It's just beautiful and calming. But when the sun goes down and it gets dark, that's when anxiety really kicks in, hoping that nothing goes wrong, that you have to stop along that highway because there's no lighting and you don't know what you're going to encounter when you do have to stop. But because of your action today, that fear has gone. And we want to say thank you on behalf of all the citizens of the Glades. And as I say, all of those who travel that road, going east to west, west to east, they can now enjoy it, not just during sunrise and sunset, but they can enjoy it also in the evening. So we just want to say thank you for doing that for our community.
You're welcome.
Mayor, we have one more speaker. It is our Executive Director of the Palm Beach Transportation Planning Agency, Valerie Nielsen, who's doing an incredible job, and thank you for your leadership.
Ms. Nielsen, always good to see you.
Thank you so much. This is really, truly a historical moment. In the 7 years that I've been at the TPA, this has been something that's been discussed at almost every meeting. Commissioner McKinley, Mayor Wilson, our former chair, Commissioner Marino, and the entire board. This has been such a priority and something that we've really pushed for and moved mountains to achieve. So we're so excited, and it's a true collaboration between the county, the TPA, FDOT, and FPNL to make this happen. As David Ricks mentioned, we had been able to prioritize $14 million, over $14 million. This is actually, there's over $24.6 million now in the pipeline to make this project happen, and design is happening and starting now. So we're so excited. Thank you all so much. And so happy for the Glades, for our entire county, for this really needed project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nielsen. I'm going to take out of order Commissioner Marino first, because I'm sure Commissioner McKinley wants to make a motion.
When I was a newly elected mayor in the city of Palm Beach Gardens, I showed up to my first TPA meeting, and I think this was one of the first or second items on the agenda, and I said, this is absolutely ridiculous. And I made a promise to the mayor there that, we would get this done. And I can't believe it's taken this long, but I am so happy that we have gotten this done. And I will not steal Melissa's thunder, but this is just a joyous day. Thank you.
Commissioner McKinley, you're recognized.
See, there I go again, making people cry. No, when we first started talking about this, George Webb was the county engineer, and I think Mo had hair. So it's been a long time coming. This is one of those things that it just seemed absurd to me that we couldn't make this happen. But then I realized, in my travels as a state association president and traveling all over Florida and to a lot of our small rural counties, that this isn't abnormal. A lot of our rural state roads don't have traffic lighting on them, and it's cost prohibitive to try to do it in every location that has rural roads in it like this. But what made our situation unique compared to those other ones is that the residents in the western communities are dependent for so many things, traveling east to, there's a lot of services that our public hospital offers, but they don't offer every service. So trying to get access to medical care, trying to get to and from work, if there are kids to attend a pilot program in a school outside of the Glades region, getting to and from school in the early hours of the morning. There's a lot of reasons that people drive, and I think it's pretty public knowledge that even grocery stores and things like Walmart and Target and trying to do those types of runs, those services are not available. And so that route, that State Road 80 connection between the Glades and the central part of Palm Beach County is instrumental. And I remember when DOT told me that they had to do a light study. And so I drove out there. I don't know, actually I was coming back from an event, and it was about 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night, and I've been known to do a couple of crazy things. I decided to pull off on the side of the road in the dark, and I got out and I took a picture, and I posted the picture, and all you saw was a black screen, and I sent it to DOT, and I said, "It's dark, here's your light study." They had to spend a little bit more money to come to the same conclusion. I can remember Todd and I coming back from a town hall meeting that we did with former Senate President Joe Negron. And we were coming down, what road was that? 710? And, or the old Connors Highway, sorry. And the light was out. And it was pitch black. And had I not known where we were geographically, Todd and I would have run right through that intersection and into the canal on the other side of the road. So the driving conditions definitely warrant this. And I want to thank Mayor Wilson for being a good thorn in my side over the years on this issue. He is tenacious. For those of you that have worked with him, when he wants something, he digs in and he doesn't stop until he gets what he wants. So I've learned a lot of my advocacy skills from him. So thank you, Mayor Wilson. But to the whole Glades leadership team, to all three mayors and to your respective commissions, thank you for your leadership and thank you for helping me see this one through. With that, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve agenda item 5A, 1A, and B.
And I will
Okay.
second.
And I have a second by Commissioner Marino. Commissioner Sacks, you're recognized.
Mayor, I think Commissioners Marino and McKinley said it all beautifully. Perseverance, determination, and a couple of photos. You know, there was a horrific accident on that road many years ago, and we had established a courthouse in the Glades, and a judge was returning from a late-night hearing and went into the canal. Luckily, he was okay. He was recovered by somebody passing by. But this just shows that no matter what numbers there may be, and Mo, I'm looking at you, we've got all these standards, you know? But when people need something, with the determination of our commissioners and our Ms. Nielsen and the TPA and the council out in the Glades, by God, we got it done. So thank you. Thank you very much, and let's vote on this. Let's do it.
Thank you. And we need to thank Jerry O'Reilly, who's the Secretary for FDOT, for, again, working with us on this. This couldn't have been done by any one of us individually, whether it's the county, TPA, or any one of these parties, or, of course, the city. So with that, I'm going to call the vote. All in favor, all opposed. Show that is approved unanimously, 7-0. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move on now to item 5B1. Do we have comment cards on 5B1?
We do not, Mayor.
Okay, very good. This is an item that's coming back before us, and I see Commissioner Bernard, you'd like to make a comment?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to, since we don't have any comment cards on this item, I'd like to make a motion to approve item 5B1.
Okay, and Vice Mayor Weiss is going to second you. All in favor, all opposed. And just for the record, this is a First Amendment to the contract for audit services with RSM, and this is a renewal for $1,725,632 for service to be completed by July 31st, 2025. And that has been approved 7-0. Thank you. I'm going to ask for a motion to reorder the agenda again to move 5E, 1A, and B ahead of 5C. I have a motion by Commissioner Kerner, second by the Vice Mayor. All in favor, all opposed. We are now going to go on to 5E, 1A, and B. This is an item that's being brought forward to us. And for anybody who's following, 5D1 has been dropped. It was deleted from the agenda. 5E1 is PalmTran. And we are talking to our executive director and talking about the impact of the the change in the climate brought on by a labor situation that we haven't seen in this area in quite some time, but certainly pandemic has changed the world. Mr. Bonlaren, would you like to introduce who's up here with you?
Thank you very much. We appreciate you taking up this item for consideration. Today, we've got leadership from Palmtran, obviously Jeremy over at OFMB does our financial management, and he's some of the brains behind the financial operation that we've got there. Chad, obviously, who is our operationals guru. Masumba from the county attorney's office, who's with us all the time, making sure that we cross all of our I's and or dot all of our I's and cross all of our T's. And obviously, Mr. Forbes, our executive director. This is an amendment to some existing contracts that we have with First Transit and MV Transportation. We do appreciate the great service that they have been providing to our county, but times have been very difficult in terms of hiring and making sure that we have the drivers necessary to meet the demands of our system. What we're asking for is an extension on both of these contracts as we develop our RFP and we go out for bid. That we'll do later this year, with some increases in some of our hourly rates for some of the starting salaries. We're competing not just with other transit and transportation operations for valuable employees, but many, many industries that are getting very competitive on their starting salaries. So we would appreciate your favorable consideration of these amendments to both of these contracts. Thank you very much.
Okay, do you have anything to add to that?
No, Mr. Mayor and Board, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to meet with you in advance and discuss this very important item.
Very good. I'm looking for a motion to approve 5E1A and B.
We have a public comment, Mr.
Okay,
Mayor.
we do have public comment.
Thank you. We'll start with Dwight Mattingly of ATU. And then we'll have Kat DeGray.
Mr. Mattingly, always a pleasure to see you.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. Dwight Mattingly, I represent the operators and mechanics that work for both MV and First Transit. And as we have noted and heard Mr. Bonlaren talk this morning about the situation that we are in, I have been working closely with both First Transit and MV to try to alleviate the situation, and we saw this as the opportunity to do so, and we've already signed off on an agreement for the change in starting wages for these operators. So thank you so much for supporting this, and we look forward to continue to work and build a greater system here in Palm Beach County with public transportation.
Thank you, Dwight. We appreciate that.
Following Kat DeGray, we have Robert Hatchett.
Ms. Gray, you have 3 minutes.
That'll be our final speaker, Ms.
Good morning. I'm down here. Good morning. My name is Kat DeGray, and I'm the Director of Operations with First Transit. I am simply here to say thank you. We have partnered with Palmtran Connection for the past 7 years, providing paratransit services. What is being presented to you today is massive, not just for our organization, but for the labor market, and to continue to provide transportation services to the citizens of Palm Beach County. So sincerely, thank you. We appreciate you, and we appreciate you, Palmtran. That's
Thank you very much for your service. That's it?
Then Mr.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Good morning. I'd like to thank you on behalf of MV Transportation. We certainly appreciate the partnership and your consideration for this item. We just want to let you know that we really appreciate that everything that you do, all of you, for helping us transport the most vulnerable citizens in Palm Beach County. We don't come with our hands out, though. We want you to know there's a significant amount of work and partnership behind the scenes to help ourselves before we ask for help from you. And so we've employed things like third-party recruiting sources. We've added dedicated local recruiting sources. We've brought national and regional recruiting support for the local team. And we've increased the frequency in terms of our updates and the accountability for reporting out on the results that wage increases will bring. And so lastly, again, I just want to say thank you. We really appreciate every consideration you make for the citizens of Palm Beach County. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we have exhausted that subject. Do I have a motion? I have a motion by the Vice Mayor. I have a second by Commissioner Sacks. So this is on 5E1, A and B. All in favor, all opposed. That's going to be shown as a 7-0 vote in favor. Thank you very much. We're going to go back now to item 5C1, and this is going to be our report on the legislative session just passed. Mr. Bonlaren, you can sit there.
I'll stay. I'll stay. Thank you, Mayor. And we're inviting some of our team members up to join us at the dais. Just so you know, we have a few of our team members that were not able to join us today, and we'll reference them throughout some of the presentation that we're doing for some of the hard work that they specifically did in some of their advocacy.
I saw you brought your private cheering section in here today.
I did. Well, I didn't personally bring my private, but it's always great to have my Mrs. Bonlaren here with me. My wife and my child-to-be is also in here, so
Always
maybe
great
she can
to
hear
see
my
you.
voice as well, and aspirations. So thank you, Rachel, for being here. Okay. We have our team with us before you. We have a brief PowerPoint, as well as our final legislative report. We're coming to you a little bit earlier than we normally do in the legislative year, and just a quick caveat is that the governor is still yet to make decisions on the budget and some of the vetoes, as well as a number of pieces of pending legislation. We will provide an addendum to the BCC and an update when that is complete, most likely in June. But we thought, well, some of these issues were relevant. We know that we're out there having these communications, you are as well, and wanted to give you the opportunity to put a little bit of closure on sort of what happened during this legislative session. I'm going to turn it over to Ed, and Ed will introduce some of our team members that are with us today for the presentation.
Thank you, Todd. Good morning. Good morning. To your far left is County Attorney Ryan Marr. Seated next to him from Converge is Paul Lowell. You've met Mr. Bonlaren. I'm Ed Chase, your Director of Intergovernmental Affairs. Next to me is Lauren Jackson from Eric's Consulting. And last but not least is superstar Deborah Posey-Blocker, Governmental Affairs Director from Palmtran, who joined this team week 1 of this legislative session and is still with us. Thank you, Deborah. We're just going to start with some top-level budget items. This year's budget was $112 billion. That is up $10.6 billion from last year. As you can see, there is significant reserves at $8.9 billion. Part of those reserves is a $500 million emergency preparedness fund, and something new this year is a $1 billion inflation fund that was inserted in the budget. Some high-level education issues. Total appropriations on education is $25.7 billion. That's only the state appropriation. That does not count the local match. So that would bring that up to about $39 billion in spending on education. On our public schools, K through 12, that is $24.3 billion, just a few issues in there. That does include a $250 million increase for a total of $800 million that school districts must use to increase the minimum salary of classroom teachers to at least $47,500 a year. And that does also include a $20 million increase to make a total of $140 million to help school districts and charter schools address youth mental health issues. And I know, Commissioner Sacks, that was a concern of yours. Also, funding-wise, under the Florida College system, I did want to make note of a couple of very special funding items for Palm Beach County. Palm Beach State College, after years of work, I do want to throw a shout out to Mrs. Bonlaren for finally getting this over the hurdle. So far, it's their dental and medical services tech building for $25 million. So congratulations on that, Palm Beach State College. We were happy to help a little bit along the way there. And under our state university system, that total number is a $5.6 billion item. And in there is the University of Florida West Palm Beach Global Center for Technology and Innovation. And that is a $100 million appropriation. I do want to thank Commissioner Kerner for his feet on the ground work on that in Tallahassee this year. We will move on to some Health and Human Services budget issues. So I will turn that over to Paul Lowell from Converge.
Good morning. And as you can see from the slide on the Health and Human Services budget, $48.9 billion, really record funding, reflective of the overall increase in the size of the state budget. And within these numbers, there's some important programs that really came about this year that are worth mentioning. First of all, under ACA, you see a Medicaid workload. It's really what that really means is a reflective of growth in the population that is served by the Medicaid program. It's now up to 5.1 million in the state of Florida. And so that's what the $2.2 billion is really covering. But within the ACA budget is also an increase to $15 per hour from the minimum wage for direct care workers within the Medicaid program, a pretty important policy that was actually rolled out amongst various budget areas, not just healthcare, but also education and other areas. In APD, another important program that came about was a new dental services program that will serve the developmentally disabled. This has been a long time ask for that community, and it's an important program for these individuals and their families. Within the Department of Children and Families, $158 million in new funding for community-based care lead agencies. For agencies like ChildNet, this is very important. They've been underfunded for a long time, and this would be, very helpful and needed for them in this next fiscal year. Also within DCF, the DCF budget is the Homeless Resource Center that we worked with Senator Berman, by President Wilhite, for quite some time throughout session to get that one across the finish line. We're just very, very pleased to report that $250,000 was accepted by the legislature and put into the final budget. That's before the governor. And then finally, under the Department of Veterans Affairs, there was a salary recruitment incentive program there as well to attract individuals to serve within the department and the veterans nursing homes. So a lot of important funding items that really came up this year that we have not seen in prior years.
Very good. Thanks, Paul. We'll move on to criminal justice, a total budget of just under $7 billion. Under the Department of Correction, it does include funding for one 4,500-bed prison at a total cost of $650 million. It also calls for construction of one 250-bed prison hospital at a cost of $200 million. You might recall last year there was some language in the budget that directed the Department of Corrections to consider some reductions in size and closing of facilities. That language is not in this year's budget. There is a back of budget item that does ask the Department of Management Services to contract for a third-party review of correction facilities, but no outright call for closures. Under the Department of Juvenile Justice, that number is $607.4 million, and included in the criminal justice appropriations is funding for the Palm Beach County Rape Crisis Center, or Butterfly House, at $282,039, and funding for the Restore reentry program at $375,000. I want to thank our friends at Johnston and Stewart, one of our lobbying team that could not be with us here today. And I want to thank especially Senator Lori Berman and Representative Matt Wilhite for sponsoring the Restore appropriation request. Let's move into transportation, tourism, and economic development. The total top line number for Department of Economic Opportunity is $1.3 billion. So let's move right into affordable housing. The affordable housing top line number this year is $362.75 million. That is up from $209 million last year. It is slated out a little differently than last year, so I thought we'd just take a quick second to go through that. SHIP, the State Housing Initiatives Partnership, that money that goes to local governments, which in turn we leverage, that number of funding was at $209.5 million. The SAIL program, the Apartment Incentive Program, that amount was reduced differently than what normally has been in years past. So this year, that number for SAIL program is $53.25 million, and the legislature took a flat $100 million that would normally go to the SAIL program and put that to create the Florida Hometown Hero Housing Program. The Florida Hometown Hero Housing Program doesn't exactly exist yet. It exists in a line in the budget. It is something that the Florida Housing Finance Corporation will put together. There was a bill that went through the process that did not pass this year, which tried to create this program. And basically, under the program, eligible purchasers would have access to 0% interest rate loans to reduce the amount of down payment and closing costs to a first mortgage purchase. And that would be an eligibility list made up of sworn law enforcement officers, first responders, certain educators, and certain medical practitioners. So those were items that were in the bill initially, but that bill did not pass. However, I would expect the Florida Housing Finance Corporation to pick up most of that information and those qualifications as they move forward to create that program.
Mr. Chase, do we know how much of that $362 million is going to be dedicated in our county?
I do not have that number yet. I can get that when they sort of sort that
I think that we
out.
are going to want that number, especially as we're having some discussion up here as far as perhaps a housing bond.
I understand, yes.
Okay, thank you.
We'll get that for you. Some other Department of Economic numbers. Visit Florida was fully funded at $50 million. The Florida Job Growth Grant Fund at $50 million. We'll talk a little bit later on about a broadband bill that did not pass. However, there is $400 million in broadband opportunity grant program to serve unserved areas of the state. And we were able to secure $1.7 million for the Everglades Restoration Workforce Training Program. And I do want to thank our partners at Pittman Law Group. Another one of our lobbying team is just not able to join us today. I especially want to thank Senator Tina Polsky, fresh off her appearance on the Howard Stern radio show yesterday morning, and also Representatives Kelly Skidmore, who represents the Glades area. In the Department of State budget, a total of just under $194 million. Libraries turned out fairly well. We have just under $24 million in the maintenance of effort and $2 million for library cooperatives. The culture and museum grants were funded very well, such that most of the the project list will be fully funded, if not just almost. To talk a little bit about the Department of Transportation budget, I will turn it over to Deborah Posey-Blocker.
Good morning. The top line item for the Department of Transportation budget is $12.7 billion. And moving down to Transportation Work Program, this is a tentative 5-year program with a fiscal year for 2021 through 2025. And this program is looking at $11.6 billion. For the Small County Outreach Program, we're looking at $115 million, and $9 million of that is scheduled for small cities. And we'd like to take this opportunity to thank Commissioner Melissa McKinley for all of her work that she did to make sure that the Glades, all 3 cities, were a part of this program. The County Transportation Program, $49.6 million, and the Local Transportation Initiative Fund, Road Fund project is at $498.6 million. This is important infrastructure for our county. We also are looking at the Transportation Disadvantage Program at $56.6 million. This is key funding partners. This is a key funding project for our public transportation, which works very hard to make sure that our seniors and our individuals with disabilities have transportation through our county. The Florida Innovative Grant Program for Transportation Disadvantage received $4 million in the budget.
Thank you, Deborah. As we move on to agriculture and natural resources, this was a banner year for Everglades restoration with $885+ million in that pot, as well as for beach funding, where we saw over $105 million allocated in the budget. And then lined out on your slide, you can see some of the local projects will be the beneficiaries of that, the South Lake Worth Inlet being one of the larger projects overall. We had a number of water projects. We'll get into some of the more specific local ones in a moment. But specific to the Loxahatchee River Preservation Initiative with $1.3 million and the Lake Worth Lagoon Initiative at $359,000 plus. Wanted to thank Senators Gail Harrell and Representative Snyder and Roth for their work on the Lox River. and then also Senator Berman and Representatives Caruso and Silvers for working with us on the Lake Worth Lagoon initiative. The larger project that we worked to get in on our budget with our Anfield consultants was $65 million for the C-51. That's the phase 2 of Cell 13. That's in addition to the $48 million we received from that last year. So that will hopefully be very beneficial in the western portions of our county for movement of water or not movement of water into the Lake Worth Lagoon and movement towards the Loxahatchee River. And then finally, the Chain of Lakes Blue A Trails Access Project, thanks to Senator Bobby Powell and Representative Matt Wilhite for their work on that particular project. We worked very hard to try to get Corbett Levy funding in there, but we're unsuccessful this year, and we'll continue to work on strategies for that effort. The next slides that we have just really look at some of the individual projects throughout Palm Beach County that were beneficiaries in this year's budget. We talked about the first few already that were priorities of the county, but really wanted to point out a couple of others, such as the City of Boca Raton City Hall Municipal Complex for their emergency generators at $1.1 million. In Palm Springs, $630,000 for their public safety building. Later down the list, Cox Science Center, $10 million that we saw for the expansion of their facility. $450,000 for Roosevelt High School. That was one of the beneficiaries of the African American and Historic Cultural Funding Grant that was put in the budget, and they'll be one of those grant recipients this year, and another allocation on top of that to be eligible for new money in the next few months. And then Burt Winters Park on the bottom of the list, one of our FERDAP and our top priorities for FERDAP. On the next page, State Road A1A with drainage repairs in Highland Beach at $750,000. The Delray Beach projects that we had in there, over almost $2.5 million in different projects for Delray Beach. Riviera Beach, and I wanted to just pause for a moment here. This year, we were unfortunate that we did not have a member of the House of Representatives representing the Delray Beach area. So we worked as a team. Mr. Sean Pittman is not here with us, but I want to give him a tremendous amount of credit and the rest of the team for really stepping up, working with our legislators and all of our delegation to come together. We brought in over $2 million into Riviera Beach and 4 different projects this year, and that was incredible work, in addition to another $1.5 million for Mangonia Park. So I wanted to thank Mr. Pittman, those municipalities, and our team for their efforts in making that a priority. And then finally, just a $500,000 that we had in for Palm Beach Gardens stormwater system improvements. Just gives you a cross-section of some of the things that we were able to accomplish with our partners countywide.
We will move on to some of our policy issues that we followed during the legislative session. We'll start with taxes and finance. House Bill 7071 was the tax package put forth by the House and passed. It provides for a number of sales tax holidays, including back to school, disaster preparedness, and in something that the Von Laren family was watching closely, the children's clothing, shoes, and diapers holiday, as well as the children's books holiday. It also does provide for the reduction of fuel taxes from October 1st to October 31st of 2022. To compensate for that, there was an appropriation for $200 million that would be moved from general revenue back into those trust funds to repay for those items. Another item on the tax front was HJR 1. This will provide an additional homestead property tax exemption for specified critical public service workforce. So this would be an extra $500,000 exemption for classroom teachers, law enforcement officers, corrections officers, firefighters, paramedics, active duty military, and members of the Florida National Guard. This is one of 3 ballot initiatives that will be on the statewide ballot this fall. The Senate Bill 434 was the Visit Florida extension, which did extend Visit Florida from 2023 to 2028. And a couple of bills that did not pass. 2 bills, 1898 and 1542, were focused on tourist development taxes. They would have expanded the use of those taxes, which we opposed, and we were able to have those bills not progress. Senate Bill 800 was an economic development package that we did support. It was put forth by Senator Albritton. Included in that was some Glades development grants and some rural economic initiatives that we were hoping to pass to help our Glades area. I'm hoping that Senator Albritton will file that again next year. And 946 was the film and television and digital media rebate program that just did not have any traction this year.
On the statewide issues, I really just wanted to bring your attention the first four bills that we had on this particular list, just to really understand the climate in Tallahassee this legislative session. There was a tremendous effort on a very conservative social agenda, and these bills represent a considerable amount of time that the legislature spent working on these particular areas. One related to abortion, reducing fetal and infant mortality. Two, on individual freedoms, that was designed to, in the legislature's mind, protect individual freedoms and prevent discrimination in the workplace. When actually this was a piece of legislation that was trying to reduce some of the racial equity conversations that were going on in some of the public schools. Immigration enforcement, to make sure that we weren't doing more for sanctuary cities, and then dissolution of marriage and elimination of alimony. So a lot of time spent on the floor of the legislature on those issues. The next couple of issues, one, law enforcement. This was one just some of you are aware of. It provided some benefits for law enforcement and recruitment, but one thing it did do was it put some restrictions on boards of county commissioners in terms of budgeting for the sheriff's office, meaning that once you budget for the sheriff's office and they get the approval of a board, they have complete authority to move those dollars around as they see fit and necessary. That was in direct response to a Supreme Court case that gave an alternative view of that particular issue. Election administration, again, some difficulties that were put in this piece of legislation in terms of access to ballots. You might have read that last year's law was temporarily overturned by a federal court, so we're waiting the outcome of that. And then on cybersecurity, this was one of those issues that we were actually working with. This is actually going to help provide some shade from the sunshine on specific plans relating to our cybersecurity. And on the issues that didn't pass, sovereign immunity, that was one of those bills where we could have seen a tremendous amount of liability from the increase in some of those sovereign immunity limits. I would assume that will be back in future years, as well as the condominium and cooperative association bill on looking for some direction from the legislature. There is potential rumor that that might be part of a special session call upcoming sometime this year.
To talk a little bit about health and human services bills that we followed is Lauren Jackson from Eric's Consulting.
So the first bill, SB 704, that was continuing the recommendations of the Sober Home Task Force. That was successful and passed. We want to thank Senator Harrell and we want to thank Representative Caruso for successfully sponsoring those bills and shepherding through the process. SB 934, we also supported. That protects identifying information of people during the homeless point in time counts. And that bill has already been sent to the governor, and he has until April 13th to act on it.
Thank you, Lauren. Some transportation bills. Senate Bill 160, which is the naming of a portion of State Road 715 at Pahokee for two Palm Beach County Sheriff's officers, Deputy Donta Manuel and Deputy Jonathan Wallace, who were killed in the line of duty in 2007. After a number of years, we were finally able to get this bill passed. Commissioner McKinley, thank you for the genesis of this project. I do want to thank Representative Skidmore and especially Senator Harrell for moving these bills along in this process, and also for the Pittman Law Group for helping us move this along. A couple of bills that did not pass quickly. Driving under the influence, that would have added some impairing substance language to our DUI laws. Transportation network companies, that was a bill that would have mandated that an airport could only charge $2 for an Uber or Lyft pickup at the airport. That would have severely offset the delicate balance of budgeting that we have at our airport. We were able to have that not move along. And two alternative mobility funding system bills. One was HR 1415, and the other was within Senate Bill 398. 1415 was basically sort of a frontal assault of trying to have mobility fees take over impact fees. That bill did not get any traction from the first day. Worked very diligently to make sure that was the case. Senate Bill 398 had some very late a late amendment that had some mobility language in it that was ultimately and very quickly taken out. On criminal justice and public safety, I will turn it over to Lauren Jackson again.
So they passed HB 195 and HB 197, which is the Juvenile Diversion Program expunction. As you remember, this bill did pass last year and it was vetoed. However, we believe that it will be signed this year with this version. And we know that that was an issue that was dear to Commissioner Weiss's heart, and also want to thank Pittman Law Group for all the work that they did on that bill as well. SB 578, which is extends the hurricane loss mitigation program until 2032. That was Representative Will Hite successfully sponsored that package, so we want to thank him for that as well. For the bills that didn't pass, there were two bills dealing with COPCN that would have impacted our process. One of them, SB 1144, we really weren't impacted by, but SB 502, we would have been, and we were able to successfully work with our partners in stopping that bill.
Some education bills that were passed. First is H 1557, Parental Rights in Education. Opponents colloquially referred to this as the Don't Say Gay bill. You may have read about it in the paper. It would prohibit classroom instruction on orientation or gender identity in kindergarten through grade 3. 1467, in that bill that did establish a 12-year term limit for school board members. There were a number of bills focused on school boards. This was really the only one, the only item that came through that. Senate Bill 520 kind of closed state college and university presidential search disclosure, so creating an exemption through a certain point of the search process for that search. 7044 requires now each tenured state university faculty member to undergo a post-tenure review every 5 years. And one bill that did not pass was a bill that would have made partisan election for district school boards. Some local government bills. I'll turn this back over to Paul Lowell to talk a little bit about these.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Ed. And just for reference, these four bills, none of these have been delivered to the governor. I think just kind of the context for all these bills we've talked about, only about 10% have actually been delivered to the governor by the legislature. That's very common. They work together to batch bills together so that the governor's office is not overwhelmed by hundreds of bills at one point. But we still have probably about 225 bills that have yet to be delivered to the governor 3 weeks after session. So, and that would include these four bills that we're talking about here. House Bill 777 is pretty straightforward, which require that the levy of certain optional taxes like tourist equivalent tax, local option fuel taxes, et cetera, must be held at a general election. House Bill 921, campaign financing. So voter-approved issues, referendums, and amendments. The local government cannot use taxpayer funds to communicate regarding those issues, even if it's strictly factual. So no communication on those issues would be allowed. Senate Bill 518, which is a bill we supported, really it clarifies the private property rights regarding the removal of pruning or trimming of trees. There was some ambiguity, I think, in the law that was passed in a recent year, and so this really was more of a cleanup and clarification. House Bill 7049 was one of those bills that consumed a considerable amount of time on the floor, and it reverted the law. There was a law passed in 2021 that was going to take effect took effect this year, and that would have prohibited or expanded the newspapers that would qualify for legal notice publication. And this bill changed that back to what it was before. So, which means really we're talking about print newspapers, and it did allow one additional change was the allowing that a government agency can publish legal notices on the website of a county. I think that was really the biggest change in that bill. For bills that did not pass. Senate Bill 228, House Bill 101, the resiliency programs that would have implemented a number of consumer protection issues regarding the PACE programs. It did not quite make it. I think it was one committee short in the House, where it cleared all committees in the Senate. Financial disclosures in Senate Bill 510, House Bill 301 would have expanded the individuals who are required to file the financial disclosure forms. And for some of the former legislators here that you're familiar with those forms, they would have expanded that list, include county and city mayors, town and village managers, and a number of other individuals, again, didn't quite make it across the finish line in the House and Senate. And then finally, Senate Bill 1420 and House Bill 1213, the public records issue, which would have provided a public records exemption for the personal identifying and location information for city, county attorneys and their deputy staff. Again, that bill really didn't move in the House and moved, I believe, 1 or 2 stops in the Senate, so it didn't quite make the finish line.
On 921, we always knew we couldn't advocate for propositions going onto the ballot, but this seems to have gone beyond that. And we basically have to remain silent as far as, let's say, if we decide to put a bond issue on the ballot. We can't say anything about it?
We can say some things about it, and there are some very specific details in this legislation that were passed. I mean, initially, the bill as it was filed, we would not have really been able to do anything in terms of advocacy. What we won't be able to do is we will not be able to publish findings or pamphlets and directly mail those out and distribute those out to our public. So we won't be able to do that to begin with. We will be able to have public forums, and we will be able to educate in some extent. We will, in many instances, the requirement is that, should be invited to some of those, forums as well, as opposed to, taking the initiative, but we're still kind of working through the nuances of those provisions. So it doesn't completely silence us, but it does create a little bit more difficulty in having a free flow of conversation when it comes to educating our public about, what we're trying to do as a board or a county.
This board had authorized me to send a letter to the governor asking him to veto 620.
Yes.
I'm wondering whether there might be some thought on this body to send a letter that perhaps this is overly broad and silencing us in this area is not helpful to the constituents understanding what is on the ballot and understanding that we certainly can't advocate pro or con, but to put the information out there certainly seems to be something that as a public official I would like to see us continue to have that opportunity.
We can certainly draft a letter for your consideration and bring it back to you next week if you'd like to take a look at that.
I'm not seeing anybody say no to that, so let's draft that letter and get that up to the governor.
Yeah. And as we were talking about preemption, and really the next couple of slides very briefly, you obviously know 620 was filed to be the preemption of all preemption bills. That letter of veto request has been delivered to the governor's office, and as well as letters from a number of others around the state. So we'll see where that goes. I mean, there were a couple of preemption issues, as you saw, some of the religious institutions issues that are on there, real property rights in terms of parking and not being able to govern parking on private property, and then also a repeal allowing us to be able to ban smoking in county municipal beaches that the legislature granted to us. But there were a lot of preemption bills out there that didn't pass on the next slide, and everything from local wages, preemption of local wage mandates, and thank you to Dwight Mattingly and his team for working with us on that particular piece of legislation, outdoor kitchen equipment preemption, towing vehicles, pet protection, prohibition of public funds for lobbying. I mean, all of those things, and this is just a snapshot of the many issues that we worked against this session that ultimately did not pass.
Our last section, some agricultural and natural resources bills that did pass, statewide flooding and sea level resilience. That is basically implementing, following up on Senate Bill 1954, establishing within the Office of the Governor the Resilience Office.
Turn your mic on.
It establishes the Resilience Office. Thank you, Commissioner. Senate Bill 494, the FWCC bill. So this gave us a little bit of a little more availability to to kind of take care of our derelict vessel issue. Commissioner Marino, I know that was something that you were looking for us to take care of. 1475, cleanup of PFAS. If you think I'm going to try to pronounce that, you are incorrect. The PFAS working group within FAC and the League of Cities met last year to make these recommendations. So the bill that passed basically says if the EPA doesn't create levels for PFAS in drinking water by a certain date, then the DEP is obligated to create those recommendations. 1078, soil and water conservation districts. That started off as a bill just to completely abolish soil and water conservation districts across the state after a series of amendments. The final version of that bill basically said that a candidate going forward for a soil and water conservation district in the state must be currently employed in the agriculture industry or retired from the agriculture industry. One of the final amendments that was considered but did not pass said that if there was a week before filing deadline, if there was no one fitting that qualification, then the ballot would be opened up to anyone not just in the agriculture industry. That amendment failed, so going forward, candidates must be either currently in or retired from the agriculture industry. 1326, comprehensive review of the CNF project. This requires the Water Management District every year to give an annual consolidated report on those projects that are happening in the district. Senate Bill 882 requires the Water Management District's governing board to develop a list of critical wetlands, working with local governments to purchase from the Land Acquisition Trust Fund. And finally, Senate Bill 2508. This was a bill that popped up during the end of the budget process as a conforming bill. So basically in times of water shortages or drainage or dry seasons, water shortages, it does three main things. It authorizes the DEP to enter into agreements with public entities to expedite permits. It requires the South Florida Water Management District to annually certify before the release of state funds that its recommendations to the Corps are consistent with district programs and plans. And finally, if there are, at a time of water shortages, if there are any changes to rules 40E21 or 40E22, any of those changes may not take effect until ratified by the legislature and presented to the governor. This bill was created as a conforming bill, which meant during the budget process it was not amendable. Once the Senate put that forward, the House either had to take it or refuse it. They did decide to take that. So, at this point, as we look at that, supporters of this bill say that this is just a necessary check and balance on the process. Opponents of this bill are basically saying this is simply complicating and delaying a typical rulemaking process. Two bills that did not pass. One bill that was supported by FAC and our Solid Waste Authority is statewide recycling goals, and Senate Bill 690, resilience-related advisory committees. This was a bill sponsored by Representative Schlossberg King to help the South Florida Climate Compact meet via telephone and not have to meet in person. None of those bills that were filed that were trying to help people not have to meet in person passed through the legislature this year. Finally, two local bills that did pass that do affect Palm Beach County. House Bill 471 is the town of Lake Clark Shores. So Lake Clark Shores has been trying to trying to annex a certain area that is not currently within the town. So this bill basically said the legislature shall declare that parcel to be wholly and completely within the town boundaries, therefore meets the actual definition as an enclave. So that bill does not automatically put that parcel within the town of Lake Clark Shores. There's a process that the town must complete to go forward with that. Finally, H. Bill 929 is the city of West Palm Beach. So the city made negotiated changes to their police pension program. Those changes, just as it's set up, need to be ratified by the legislature by special bill. I do want to thank Victoria Nolan, the Executive Director of Palm Beach County Legislative Delegation, and Daniela Bocanegra, the delegation aide, for all of their help during this 9-week legislative process. Future issues and questions, as you know, there is a special session set for April 19th through the 22nd to consider legislative congressional districts. We will see if there are any other matters put on the agenda for that special session.
Very good. And before I recognize Commissioner Bernard, I just want to thank our legislative delegation and also bid adieu to Representative Wilhite and Slosberg King, who are not standing for reelection, and thank them for everything they did during this legislative session. On that, we will go to Commissioner Bernard and then Vice Mayor Weiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to thank the whole legislative delegation staff, the lobbyists, and for their hard work during this whole legislative session. Because I know 60 days in Tallahassee when the legislators are up there, that's 60 days of damage. I want to thank the mayor and the vice mayor, all the commissioners who participated during the legislative session, and also Commissioner McKinley for spending a lot of time in Tallahassee. So thank you very much. Todd, just one quick question. The issue of insurance. I'm reading that a citizen last week, they proposed to increase their rates by 11%. And I believe the CEO said that, you know, the rates should have been increased to almost 36.5%. Yeah. Did the legislature spend time on insurance, or do you foresee a special session to address the insurance crisis that's imminent in Florida and in Palm Beach County?
Mayor, Commissioner Bernard, we have an insurance crisis in the state of Florida, and particularly in South Florida. We have seen insurance rates, particularly in Palm Beach and Broward County, escalate far beyond what we've seen in some other areas of the state. For a while, we saw many policies that were leaving Citizens and were being put in other, insurance providers, policy for windstorm. And many of those are starting to come back, as some of those companies have not been able to financially withstand some of the obligations that they were insuring. Insurance is always a very, very difficult issue in Tallahassee. There are a lot of hands in the pot in terms of negotiations for how to deal with that. Citizens was set up to be the insurer of last resort in the state of Florida. And for many years, that's where most of our policies were. I have heard, and the governor has mentioned it as well, that as they look at legislation related to condominiums and some of the codes for our condos, that within that conversation that he would entertain discussions about insurance and looking at that more comprehensively, but only if the legislature was able to come to the table with some kind of deal on that. And whether they can do that or not, I don't know. But it is something that we absolutely have to address. I know, Paul, I know you deal a lot in the healthcare world and insurance. You might be able to offer a little bit more insight on that as well.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. So in most of the debate this session, and it seems like every session there's a certain aspect of property insurance that is focused on by the legislature. And this year it was roof replacements. This is this year's bogeyman, I guess, for lack of a better way to describe it. So there's a suspicion that an enormously large volume, in fact, we're an outlier among the lower 48 states in roof replacements under property insurance. But there's a suspicion that is being really abused on a grand scale. So what was offered, and unsuccessfully, I might add, obviously didn't cross the finish line this year, was that the insured, so the homeowner, would have the option of either full replacement as part of their insurance policy or some graduated scale based on the age and type of the roof. So that was really the bulk of the debate in property insurance was in that area. And I suspect that will come back either next session, or if there's a special on condos and property insurance, that will be probably the first place that they will start with.
But it seems like, in the past 24 months, we've had so many of the private insurance companies that are going insolvent. Is that going to solve the issue of an insurance crisis in the state?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. There have been a series of incremental reforms over the last 10 to 15 years designed to stabilize the market, and I assume to a certain extent they have. maybe by evidence by the fact is what Todd mentioned is the takeouts coming out of Citizens, but now we're seeing them go back in, and it is a constant fight, I think, from the legislator's point of view, to try to ameliorate what they would consider fraud and abuse out in the marketplace, and we don't know. I mean, it certainly is a driving force, I think, objectively in the insurance market in terms of roof replacements.
Well, Todd, I hope that if the legislature and the governor does decide to do a special session, that we're paying very closely on, how this is impacting the residents of Palm Beach County.
Yes, sir. And if there is a session on insurance and on condos, we will absolutely be up there with our team advocating for the citizens of our county. Thank you
very
for
much.
the
Thank you,
emphasis.
Commissioner. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you all for your service up in Tallahassee. As somebody who actually never ventured up there before, sitting as a county commissioner, it's a difficult job you all have. I mean, you're clamoring to get our voices heard amongst a few hundred people, and there are thousands of other voices also trying to be heard at the same time. So you do a really admirable job representing us. My question, though, is in regards to mental health spending in the state. I mean, we continue to, as I know, lag behind on a per capita basis other states. And, if you look at so many of the expenses that local governments are, expending our resources on, a lot of it, whether it's through law enforcement, homelessness, substance abuse and addiction, all have a piece of mental health in them. And was there any movement to really, overhaul and update the system we have and properly fund it?
Yeah, there has been an effort. There's both been systemic and financial reforms over the past few years. One of the issues that came up a few years ago that I believe was really pushed by Senator Harrell was what they call the no wrong door system of care. So it didn't matter what where you came in the mental health substance abuse system, you were able to get directed to the right place. Now, whether to be honest, whether all that legislation made a real lasting effect, I think it's really probably too early to say. But there has been, especially this year, some sustained investments in both front end and back end care and mental health and substance abuse as well. In terms of overdose issues and funding of care for individuals in that situation, but also on the front end. But there are a lot of silos, honestly. There's federal funds that come down that have very, very specific uses, and they have to stay within those silos. There's general revenue funding that is a little more, I think, versatile. But the legislature, I think, is trying to make an investment, but it's an issue that all states, frankly, are dealing with at this point. And it's almost like squeezing a balloon. You feel like you fix one area and you got issues that pop out in a different silo in that space. But there is some movement. We'll just have to wait and see. Some of these reforms have been very, very recent in the last 1 or 2 years, so maybe too early to assess it.
Well, and thank you for that, Paul. And while they're updating, have upgraded their funding for workforce affordable housing programs, and to piggyback on top of Commissioner Bernard's comments. I mean, when you talk about insurance, windstorm insurance in South Florida, you're adding $1,000 a month to somebody's payment, whether they're renting a house or owning a house, and I mean, that's what we've seen happen is absolutely unsustainable, and it contributes tremendously to the affordability problems that we're having. So anything you all can do, hopefully, if not this year, hopefully next year.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Commissioner McKinley?
Yes, thank you. Commissioner Weiss and Commissioner Bernard, thank you for bringing up that roofing issue. I recall my father had to have his entire roof replaced, in order to keep his property insurance. And then when he did that, when his property was revalued, it increased the value of his property, so his taxes went up because of the new roof. So it seems that we haven't coordinated something right. I have a couple questions and a couple comments. My first question is sort of to go along with what Vice Mayor Weiss was talking about. Can you get to us a side-by-side over maybe the last 2 to 3 years of where we have seen addiction treatment services, the funding levels? I didn't hear a whole lot of conversation about this last legislative session, and certainly our numbers are not going down, they're going up. So I'd like to see if the funding has followed that trend as well.
Do that.
Another question I had, Mr. Chase, maybe you can tell me, any idea where that new prison is being built?
It did not have a location specified in the budget.
Okay. I would ask, you know, it's an item that we've talked about for years, and I pass that baton on those issues over to Vice Mayor Weiss, but trying to relocate a youthful offender facility somewhere closer to South Florida. So if they're going to spend that kind of money to construct a new prison and it's anywhere closer to us than Sumter County, if we could see if a youthful offender service could be provided if that location happens to be in our vicinity. I mean, if it's in the Panhandle, obviously not, but if we could follow where they end up building that, and if there's an opportunity to locate that program a little closer to home, I think that's something we should look into. And also, you know, my last question before I go into my comments, what was the demise of the Rural Development Bill? What caused that bill to die?
Commissioner, I really don't know. And it was a little confusing because of who the sponsor was. When we were supporting it through the process, there were never any arguments or discussions about kind of the things that we were looking at in that bill. I don't know whether that was a leadership decision. We can certainly work with Senator Albritton over the summer to see if there's something else we can do to try to help that. But I just don't know the answer to that question.
And do you recall what the dollar amount was that was associated for those rural development grants? It wasn't that much, was it? It
was, I'd hate to guess at this point, but I'm going to. It was in the $20 to $50 million range, wasn't it? I believe it was.
Okay, and the reason I ask that is it's incredibly frustrating, you know, the whole concept of a rising tide lifts all boats. And when you consider that Florida has 67 counties, 40 of them are small counties, and about 2 to 3 dozen of those are fiscally constrained counties. And what that means is every time they pass something like the additional homestead exemption, they usually carve those counties out, or they take general fund dollars and they refund those fiscally constrained counties the revenues that they would have lost. And we're a donor county. So we send our sales tax revenues up to Tallahassee and they redistribute those dollars, and I'm okay with that. I mean, it's based on need, but we are certainly not getting everything back that we collect here, and we share that with some of our smaller counties that need our help. And if you spend time in those smaller counties, you see why they need our help. But the idea that we can't get rural funding bills passed in this state with the type of legislative leadership we have is very frustrating. And I know that we've got rural communities in our county, otherwise we're a large urban county. But I really think that this is my last year up here with you guys, right? I won't be here next session. But I really think that this is something that we should put the weight of the large urban counties on, because if we don't help them, it costs us money. And this should be a priority for this board and for all the large counties next year. So, and then a couple of comments. I know that Sean Pittman and Candace aren't here today. All of our team, I work very, very well with all of them. Those were the two I happened to work the most closely with, Candace and Lauren. Thank you for housing me as I walked over to the Capitol and got caught in a few too many rainstorms. That was a great office to seek shelter, so I appreciate that. Sean included me. He also represents the city of Belglade, and so when he had the city up there, he invited me to attend the leadership meetings that he had for the city as we sought to get funding for the Glades. So I really appreciate them. I also I appreciate our business community and some of the partners. You know, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that goes on. We have a wonderful lobby team, but sometimes we need to get our business partners involved to help us out where we fall short. And to our agricultural industry, anything that had to do with trying to seek funding for the Glades, they were on board. Whenever I called and asked if they could make a phone call on our behalf, they all did. So I just want to thank those agricultural partners in our community. We have a fabulous legislative delegation, and it's wonderful to work with them. But I want to give some credit first to Janet Cruz, Senator Cruz. She was in a leadership role in some of those conference committees, so she came through at the last hour for us on some of our items for our county, even though she has, between Pinellas and Hillsborough County, you know, quite a legislative lift herself. But the other person I want to really thank, and it's not like me to praise leadership, usually I'm the one criticizing them, but I really want to thank President Wilton Simpson. He made some commitments and he stayed true to his word. And when you looked at where some of our appropriations were in the last few days of that budget process, Palm Beach State College had $8 million on the House side and nothing on the Senate side. And between Rachel's work and some advocacy to the president's office, we saw that funding fully funded at $25 million. And then the other two items, in addition to helping us with the C-51 reservoir and some of the environmental projects, the SCOP funding for the roads, which is critical to the Glades community. But West Tech, which actually is not in your list, but West Tech had no funding on the Senate side. The House side had about half of the requested funding. At the last minute, you saw the conference committee match the House. And then when it went up to the presiding officers, all of a sudden West Tech was fully funded. I don't think that's an accident. And the other one was the Everglades workforce training. And we constantly reminded legislative leadership that that was a promise under Senate Bill 10 back in 2017. And it had about a little less than half of the funding requested, and the Senate fully matched that at $1.7 million. And that's not just for our county. Those are for all the counties that touch Lake Okeechobee that are environmentally, they're benefited, economically, they're harmed when we do these restoration projects. So that funding is for workers in those areas to get assistance in getting retrained in other vocations, and so it's pretty phenomenal. And Deborah, I don't know what it is about Ed and Todd. You started the first week. When I started working for them, it was the second week of session, so God bless you and thank you and welcome to the team. And then I just want to say the last thing is, all of these years of going up to Tallahassee, I remember when my son got accepted at Florida State in 2016, and he said, you know, Mom, you're not going to just like show up unannounced and, you know, at my dorm or at my apartment, are you? And I said to him, Brady, the first time I'm in town and I call you up and see if you and your roommates want to go to dinner, and then I take you to the grocery store and I fill up your refrigerator, I swing you by Target and get other things that you might need, you're going to start asking me when I'm coming back. And now I have 2 kids up there. I think the Palm Beach Post once said something about me playing working mom in Tallahassee. I'm not playing working mom, I am a working mom. But let me tell you, I love being up there, and I love that work, and I love the team that we have assembled. But it is so expensive for me to go up there because now I've got 2 kids up there that need to go to the grocery store, and you need this and need that. But it's been a tremendous experience, and we have the best advocacy team in the entire state of Florida. So congratulations to you guys. Good session. And with that, I'll move approval to receive and file the 2022 legislative session report.
Okay, that's moved and seconded. All in favor, all opposed, it's approved. We have several more comments, and I see the administrator would like to, you'll wait? Okay, and we do have some public comment. All right, I'm going to be, all right, let's go to Commissioner Marino.
It's always hard to follow Commissioner McKinley with her immense knowledge up there, and I do appreciate all of you have done for the county and all of your lobbying efforts. I am a newbie to this, but I do appreciate those that come before me and set the groundwork. I did have a couple of questions, if that's okay. All right. So do you have any more details on the Florida Hometown Hero Housing Program? I mean, I know it was, a lot of ideas were in there and then they died, but I mean.
The details that I gave you earlier are.
That's it?
That is what is within Senate Bill 788, and that was the vehicle to create that program. So if the Florida Housing Finance Corporation is given or will take any suggestion, it will probably come directly from that bill.
I'm sorry,
Lots of
I was
probablys
listening to
there.
the music. Could you say that again?
Commissioner Sachs makes quite an exit.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
The language within Senate Bill 788, which would have created the Hometown Hero program, that does list some qualifications and regulations on that. I would expect that the Florida Housing Finance Corporation would take most of those recommendations, even though that bill did not pass. But basically, they were given a chunk of money with a name and said, create, go forth and create.
Okay. And the Senate Bill 962, residential development projects, how will this, or will it have any effect on our affordable housing supply? And I do see that it had 100% bipartisan support, something we don't say enough, but it did have 100%, I'm going to repeat that, 100% bipartisan support. So any more information you can give us on that?
I think the legislature thought that that could be a tool that local governments could use. And that was their.
So it's up to us to figure out how we do it. Okay. Easy enough. All right. Do we know the fiscal impact of the sales tax holidays?
The only, I can probably find out. The only issue that I know of is the $200 million appropriation from general revenue that would go to supplant the money for the fuel tax holiday in October. So that number was $200 million. That was set. Other financials, I will check the bill analysis and see if they have an accurate account on that.
Okay. And just a quick question: the children's clothing, shoes, and diapers holiday is a year long?
Yes.
I thought I misread that.
Some of these holidays are a week or 2 weeks or a month, or in some cases like that, a year.
It conveniently starts
Well,
the week after that my new daughter is born. So
well,
that's-
if you consider,
yes.
during COVID, the joke was you either got pregnant or divorced. So for all those people that got pregnant, here you go, have a holiday. Those are my comments. Thank you.
All right, I think Commissioner Sachs.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Question for Todd, and I may have to refer to Paul on the issue of insurance. Todd, should I speak to Paul about the issue of insurance, particularly citizens?
He's one of my experts on insurance
That's
and
what I figured.
healthcare, so,
Okay, Paul,
yeah.
you're on. It was not surprising that citizens, the insurance of last resort, raised taxes, raised their policies. And I think that now Commissioner Steve Geller, who was that time senator with Charlie Crist, they started the whole idea of a citizens' property insurance, which is, of course, based on our state of Florida. This is a question. Is it true, and I've been reading about this, that citizens raised their insurance because of a lack of a statewide policy on inspections, of high-rise condos along, east of I-95 where Citizens does its business?
Good question. Excellent question, and I've read that as well. Honestly, I don't know. There's probably multiple factors that are.
Are you our person on insurance for legislative issues, Paul?
Yes, I do work on insurance issues related to healthcare and occasionally on property insurance.
Were you involved at all with FAIR, F-A-I-R, which is the consumer advocacy group for insurance policies, especially for Palm Beach County?
Not this session, no.
Are you aware of that organization?
I've heard of them, yes, I've heard of them. Yes.
Could we possibly set up a meeting? I'm looking at Todd and Ed. Mr. Halloran is the head of FAIR, and their concern is that the lack of attention by the legislature on a statewide policy of inspections and certification of high-rise condos, especially in Broward and Palm Beach along east of I-95, led to the insurance industry raising policies by Citizens, and then, of course, the consecutive raise in insurance policies throughout our county. I know that Commissioner Bernard brought it up. This is a big issue for the people because you can't really purchase a residence unless you have insurance. Insurance could price a lot of people out of the market of even buying a residence, as well as the economic effects of this on, on what's happening in our county. So I wonder if, Todd, you and I, or Ed, both of us, three of us, could talk about maybe getting together with Mr. Halloran, who is an expert on this issue, and seeing what we can do about ameliorating, working with the insurance industry so that our policies do not rise at the same time. Mortgage rates are going up, and we've got to make this a climate that is conducive for home ownership. And I think that this is an issue. Paul, I don't want to go away from talking to you, but they always blame it on the attorneys.
Yeah,
always. This is song's been going on. They've been playing the song too long. But now they may have an argument that since the state did not do a statewide policy on inspections, that they cannot, in a sense, it may be correct, they cannot really keep insurance rates low without this type of feedback on governments, local governments, on assuring that the structural integrity of our high-rise. Thank you. I look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sachs. Administrator Baker, do you wish to speak now, or do you want to wait till after public comment?
I simply wanted to publicly acknowledge the hard work of our legislative affairs staff. Todd, under your leadership with Ed, Deborah, welcome aboard. Done an outstanding job, including walking around Tallahassee your first week and through the session with a boot on. So kudos to you. Victoria, she's not here, and Daniela, outstanding staff. And I'd like to thank the rest of the staff. When you call, they immediately respond. That's how we're able to get you the information along with our partners of our lobby teams. You guys have also done an outstanding job. This was a very, very tough session, but the most important bill to me personally, Ed, you took care of, and you got to come home. So great job. I told him he couldn't come home if that bill passed.
All right.
Tough crowd. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Administrator Baker. And then I believe we have some public speakers.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Our first speaker will be Commissioner Almazan from the City of Belle Glade, followed by Commissioner Berry from the City of Belle Glade.
Welcome, Commissioner.
Mr. Mayor, Board of County Commissioners Office, I'd like to say a few words. I would like to thank the whole Palm Beach County legislative team, and especially Commissioner McKinley for walking with us in the halls and showing her professionalism and leadership out there, and also to the Guardians of the Glades. I know it's a hard session for everyone out there, 60 days, but appreciate all your hard work and effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And then we'll have, did the other commissioner want to speak? It's gone, okay. Then we have Executive Director Ledesma from the City of Belle Glade, and then PR Coordinator Mary Evans from the City of Belle Glade. Those are all our speaking cards, Vice Mayor.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Wesley Ledesma, and I serve as the Executive Administrator for the City of Belle Glade. I'd like to recognize Mr. Mayor as well as the Palm Beach County Commissioners for allowing us the opportunity to join this commission meeting today. And I'd like to echo the comments of our commissioner. We had a very productive visit in Tallahassee, and we thank Commissioner McKinley for her leadership on our visit. Her advocacy in Tallahassee was excellent for our community, and navigating the unique proposition that the Glades has to navigate each time we're in Tallahassee. We all know here, since we're local, that proposition of being a rural county in a increasingly metropolitan county is very difficult to wrap your heads around. And in Tallahassee, some know, but not all. So wrapping up with the session of Commissioner McKinley's leadership was invaluable for us, and we appreciate all that you do for our city in Belle Glade. We just celebrated our end of the harvest season celebration, which is called Black Gold Jubilee, and Commissioner McKinley was in attendance for that as well. She participated in the 5K, and I don't know if any records were yes. They haven't told us if any records were set, but we did see a photo of her ahead of the pack. So we enjoy that every year, and again, that celebrates the end of our harvest season. So the Glades, our backbone is always going to be agriculture, and in this environment that we've been a part of since the beginning of the pandemic, I think we've all realized how important agriculture is in our community, and the many community members that we have in attendance today are the hardworking men and women of our great city of Belle Glade who support the economy in this state. And agriculture plays a huge part in the state economy, and all of us can be proud of that. So we thank the committee for your leadership and your service to this great county. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. All right.
Greetings to the mayor and to the Board of County Commissioners and to Ms. Baker and to our Melissa McKinley. Thank you for keeping your phone on speed dial for us and answering us 365 days a year. Your leadership has just been impeccable. We thank you so much for all that you have done for the Glades region. So what do we live for if not to make life happier and less difficult for everyone else? You have really made our lives happier in the Glades region. You know, I retired from education in 2007, and in 2009, I joined the city's team. Was I in for a rude awakening, but a good one. I didn't know that much about politics at that time, but I do now, and just how government works. Thank you for all that you do to partner with us to improve the human condition in the Glades region. And it gives me great pleasure to explain to our residents just how important you are in making things happen for us in the Glades region. The programs, the projects that you sponsor have continued and continue to be second to none. So we truly thank you for all of that. Let's continue our partnership. We still have much to accomplish. And remember, we can accomplish anything in life provided we do not mind who gets the credit. The credit is for the people who depend on us daily to make life happier for them. Let's continue our one voice in Tallahassee as we unite for all. Again, thank you for all that you do for us.
Thank you very much.
Vice Mayor, just real quick.
Yes, sir. Recognize.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Although Ms. Evans mentioned that she has Commissioner McKinley's number on speed dial, I'm sure Commissioner McKinley does have her number on speed dial because Ms. Evans is so dedicated to the residents of the Glades, specifically on education issues. As a former state rep who represent that area, we work with you very closely, and thank you for your dedication to the Glades.
Thank you, sir. All right. The mayor asked that we will take up board appointments, staff comments, and commissioner comments after matters by the public at 2 p.m. So with that, we will have recess, and we will be back at 2 p.m.